want you guys to know, I was over here drinking water, and I crunched the water bottle. I was like, oh my god, I hope you didn't hear that. And I was like, oh, praise be me for muting my mic in the last stream. But welcome in, you guys. Hold on, let me adjust my chair, my cushion. Is that better? I guess. I suppose not really. But welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the stream. We're with our life beginning always. We're doing more Derek's DLC, so welcome in. We're just gonna get right into it. Siblings. You guys have siblings? I have a sibling. His birthday was yesterday. Was it? No, it was the day before yesterday. I was like, what's today? You stretch your arms high as you step into the spot on your wooden floor where the last rays of sunshine landed. The remaining warmth of the day was still enough to tickle your skin. Derek's DLCs feel like they last longer than Cole's for some reason, and I don't know why that is. You felt pleasantly full from dinner, and the only thing that was left on your plate was waiting for a knock. Oh? Derek closed your door as he came in behind you. You'd gotten to spend the afternoon together, and you knew his mom would arrive to pick him up at any minute. Thanks for having me over, Kingsley. You don't have to thank me for that. And why am I not surprised you tried to take dishwashing duty away from Elizabeth? Derek pressed his palms together, flipping each hand over and under in a loop. It could almost be viewed as a mock washing gesture, but he was probably being awkward. I just thought it'd be fair. I didn't help with the cooking. You're so sweet, you're so funny, you're too much. You're welcome to do my dishes, Derek. You shook your head in amusement. You sighed. You're so sweet. Aw, thanks. Okay, Derek, Mr. Manners. Before you could settle in enough to even take a seat, a pounding set of thuds cracked the laid-back mood. Derek scrunched his limbs totally inward from the shock. You'd been keeping the ear out for the exact sound, which was completely unnecessary. Tourists halfway across the town wouldn't miss that blare. The racket was followed by the door Derek had so carefully closed moments ago, roughly swinging open. Ugh, Elizabeth. Obviously, the person on the other side wasn't Mrs. Suarez. It was your older sister. With a huff and an eye roll, she delivered a brief message as fast as she could spit it out. Derek's mom is here, and our mom made me come get you about it. I tried to read that fast. I just couldn't. Okay, we're coming. Why'd you knock if you weren't gonna give us a chance to answer? Who got the message? Go to the dishes, Elizabeth. Thanks for telling us. What a great message, girl. You stared at her wordlessly. Can I just stare at her? She gave you another roll of her eyes, but didn't waste a single extra word on you. In one motion, she curled her fingers over the edge of the door, twisted around, and yanked the door shut. Okay. Okay. The books and boxes on your desk shelves shook. Derek's teeth clattered too. He whispered through the grimace. Derek, I'm so sorry about her. I'm so sorry for her. I'm sorry for that. She's so rude. Want to trade Nicholas and Jorge for her? I'll take both if you want. No, you can keep them. Your eardrums alright? I'm so sorry about that. No worries, it's not your fault. She gets extra grouchy sometimes. Right now, for example. Derek's shoulders slowly eased down into the resting position, but his expression was pinched. He began to whisper while glancing the way your sister went. His voice was hushed, secretive, almost afraid. Elizabeth might slap the door open again and find out he was talking about her. Do you think it's about the dishes, or... I don't know. You could only give a half-hearted answer. You struggled like me. You struggled like me. Hold on, I didn't turn closed captions on. Let me turn that back on. You struggled to understand why Elizabeth acted out the way she did a lot of the time. But your mom was waiting. But your mom's waiting. You gotta go so you can get home. Right, Kingsley? Derek's mouth opened and closed without saying anything else. He lifted a hand to try gesturing, but dropped that without it going anywhere. It made you raise your eyebrow. Yeah? His bright green eyes squinted hard into narrow slits. You could still see the way they darted around. His gaze was trained on the ground, scanning across the floorboards through everything that really mattered was probably... Though everything that really mattered was probably inside his actual head. I was wondering... He paused again. Derek's hands balled into tight fists. He let out a breath and finally asked a question. Are you busy tomorrow? He blinked. That was all? No. The simple answer still made Derek flinch. It might not be all.
Really?
Yeah, really. That's what I said. Then he spread his fingers and arms out in not quite a shrug. Would you want to come over to my house for the day? The tone of voice and pose he took was casual in a scripted way. He definitely wanted you to feel like it was totally optional and no problem if you turned him down. You couldn't tell if that was the end or just another point in the process, but you were going along for the ride. I can probably do that. I'd have to ask my mom's. Derek leaned in closer, slowly opening his eyes wider. Some kind of suspense was growing. Alright. He dipped his head in tiny, repetitive nods. The look on his face went distant again, the way it did when he was thinking deeply. Then, finally, he flung his hand up to complete the shrug and spoke the question he'd been stalling on. Would you want to come over tonight instead and sleep over? We could, camp out in my living room. It'd be fun, our little party. Now the nervousness was made sense to you. Aw, he's so cute. Nah, you're the one feeling nervous. You were completely stunned. Your confusion was compounded. You almost laughed. It absolutely tickled you. It tickles me. It tickles me in my heart. I think that's pretty out of nowhere. I know that is pretty out of nowhere if you can't make it or don't wanna or anything. I'm totally cool with it. I went to hoping them to let me. Let's do it. Yeah, but why? You know, I have an agreement. Would your parents be able to manage that? That's the real question. I don't know, maybe. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Come on, we'll ask right now. Yeah, definitely. My mom is waiting for us. Look at your mom. Your mom's a MILF. Is every mom in this game a MILF? I feel like it. The two of you left your bedroom and bounded down the stairs one after the other. Your warm greeting came as you hit the landing point on the first floor.
Hello.
Derek and Kingsley. Your two moms and Derek's mom were gathered in the entryway of the living room. Derek reached a hand out towards her and waved it. Hey, Mom. Hey, welcome to our house, even though you've been here for a few minutes already. After smiling at him and at you, Derek's mom turned her head over her shoulder to speak to your parents. Thank you again for taking care of him. Mom. Derek uncharacteristically broke polite decorum by interrupting his mom. It got her attention as she let him speak. I had something I wanted to ask. You and Mrs. Rigel. Oh? What is it, sweetie? He had the attention and encouragement of all three mothers. On this stage, Derek didn't beat around the bush the way he did before. I was wondering if Kingsley could come with us and spend the night at my house? Please? You knew your mom was well enough to foresee potential concerned reactions, and so Derek sped through his extra terms to make sure they heard the part before answering. Honestly, my parents would not allow this if I went on a date with this person. Like, oh no, that's romantic. Things could happen. I mean, we're both boys here though, so really not much can happen in terms of bringing life into the world. We're children, let me stop. Things happen, they're like teens. They're teens. Teens are wild. Teens are wild. That's not what I meant to pin. Why is this pinned? Unpin this message. This was the message that's supposed to be pinned. Why did this one get... I was so stupid. Okay, anyway. We'd set up in the living room instead of my room, and my parents and brothers would still be around. People could keep an eye on us. Unexpected, Mom and Ma weren't instantly thrilled. They were shocked by the possibility. And while he was successful in avoiding the first obvious pitfall, your mom still had a completely different apprehension to fret about. That's pretty last minute. You're about to walk out the door. We couldn't have Kingsley impose. Derek's mom stayed strangely silent after he popped the question. She fixed a stare at her son, crossed her arms against her chest, and shook her head at him. But the shake didn't mean no. It had another meaning that maybe only a Suarez could get. Still, she smiled.
Yes.
We can find a place for Kingsley tonight if there's no family conflict with that, and he would like to come over, of course. Whoa, why did I read that weird? I'm so sorry. Both of your moms turned their faces right towards one another on instinct. They were astounded that Derek's mom didn't mind. Huh? Mom scratched her head over it. Derek had made a huge request with no advance warning, and Mrs. Suarez had 3 children to take for already. No, Mrs. Suarez had 3 children to care for already. It seemed unreasonable to her. For your mom, however, a light began to sparkle in her eyes, and when she noticed you looking, she held your gaze. Kingsley, do you want to go? Yeah, so much. Ma wrapped her arms around one of her wife's.
In that case,
I see. I think that would be alright, just this time. Really? Your mom sputtered. She clearly hadn't gone to that page of the script. Mom got an encouraging pat on the top of her head for her troubles. Damn, not her patronizing her. Patronizing. She remained absolutely perplexed, mouth open, eyes wide. Mom could only process enough to realize that she'd become the odd mom out. She probably didn't know exactly what she was doing, why she was doing it, but Mom turned to look at you. Pack it up, Kingsley. You wouldn't want to keep them waiting. You stopped your gaze to Derek. He'd done the same. The two of you shared a matching look of astoundment. It was almost identical to the gesture her moms had made when Mrs. Suarez first accepted Derek's proposition.
thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. and Mrs. Rigel. Thanks, Mom. Yes, no way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You were at lost words. Thanks, Moms. The deal was finalized with a crisp clap from Mrs. Suarez. Pamela's right. You should get what you'll need for the night. Coming along for the ride. I'll help. Neither of you gave them time to change their minds. You ran back to your room and began to pack in a whirlwind. As you shoved clothes into a backpack, Derek hovered in the center of the room. He fidgeted with his energy that was going unused. Can you get me a spare toothbrush? There's an extra for traveling in the hall closet.
I'm on it.
Gotcha! He was gone in a flash. You took only the very basics. You made sure to get the basics and something you personally couldn't go without. A portable gaming console, honestly, yeah, it's me. Welcome in, Jazz. Thanks again for the lurks. It's like last time. I appreciate it. Pencils and paper. Why would I need pencils and paper? How many things can I take with me? I want to bring my stuffed animal. I want to bring my stuffed animal. You made a note in your head to ask your moms to tell Code where you'd be, since there wasn't time to explain it in person. Okay, but then you remember the conversation you had with him that morning. He had plans the next day and wouldn't be around for a lot of it anyway. Derek's invite had come at a convenient time. Derek returned in a sprint, a toothbrush held over his head in triumph. With a grin, you threw it into the overnight bag. That was enough to get you by for a short trip. You zipped it up, hooked it around your shoulder, and went out the door. You checked off the final requirements to leave. For the second time in a matter of minutes, you rushed down your stairs in a flurry of steps with Derek close enough that you almost stumbled into him. At the bottom, you came to stand in front of the mom group. We're ready!
Good night.
Perfect. Good luck, kiddos. Have a great time. Gently, rhythmically, Ma ran her hand over your hair. All her precious hopes for your safety and happiness ebbed from her fingertips into you.
Take care.
Good night, Kingsley. Take care. Night. See you. Mrs. Suarez and Derek gave their own goodbyes, and afterwards they returned to the minivan that had brought them here. And then, almost unbelievably, you slid into the vehicle with them to go on the impromptu sleepover. The chill of the squeaky leather against your hands and the persistent smell of animal cracker crumbs kept you grounded in reality. That's so funny. Why does your minivan smell like animal crackers? Derek bounded against the seat back like a kid on a roller coaster and clicked his belt into place for the ride to his condo. You strapped in too. You never could have imagined the evening taking you down this literal and metaphorical road, but you were eager to find out what happened next. The sun continued to sink as Derek's mom drove down the highway. When you arrived at your destination, so had night. The condo complex was nicely lit and well maintained. The three of you easily made your way up to Derek's house and went right in. Slipping her set of jangly keys onto the nearby wall hook, Mrs. Suarez called out into the hall from the empty living room. We're home! You braced your ears for the second sibling caused commotion of the evening that you knew would come. Yeah, he's back! Nicholas tore out his bedroom and thundered across the floor until he had his arms gripped around his big brother's legs. Even with all the force 6-year-old Nicholas could muster, it was hardly a bump against Derek. He absorbed the impact, calmly giving his little sibling a pat on the head for his troubles. I love how smug and smarmy Nicholas is. Yeah, we're back. The two remaining boys of the family came from the same room at a snail's pace in comparison to the first. But soon enough, Mr. Suarez and Jorge were with you too.
Welcome back.
Jorge rubbed a growing sleepiness from one eye. He took in the scene with undisguised confusion. Damn, okay. Honestly, me and Jorge are the same. I would have done the same thing. If my brother brought home a friend, I'm like, why are you here? Why is Kingsley here? Hi, I've come to visit. I'm sleeping over. You look down, waiting for someone to explain. What do you mean I live here? What do you mean I live here? No, you don't. Mom! She answered matter-of-factly. Kingsley is staying over with us tonight. Jorge clamped his mouth shut. He might have had something to say about the spur-of-the-moment plans, but was obedient enough to not argue with his mother. Are you upset that I'm here, Jorge? You're my favorite sibling. Jorge, I want to be besties. Mr. Suarez, however, had a childlike glee in his expression. Oh, very good. I don't know what to do with his voice. Derek cut into his dad's excitement with a reply a little too soon. He had completely normal words to say, but it had been put on fast forward. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, we're gonna camp out in the living room. Can we borrow the tent? The tent? How is this gonna work? What kind of tent? Is it like a child tent or is it like an actual tent, like a camping tent? Because it changes. It changes on how you do this whole tent thing. Derek's hands were balled into fists and held up near his collarbone, overzealously, kind of protectively. His father looked down at him with a familiar, serene expression. You knew exactly where he'd seen it before when Mr. Suarez placed his hand on the top of Derek's head. He took care of Derek the same way Derek cared for Nicholas. Aww. Family. Of course. Should I try to go deeper? We'll see how I'm feeling. And the gesture worked the exact same charm on Derek. His shoulders relaxed, expression softened shyly. The pounding nerves that had been building faded. Camping! Nicholas shouted without warning. The entire exchange had held no interest for the youngest one until that moment. That's right, Nico. Derek reached down and carefully placed his hand on Nicholas' shoulders to nudge him off. Nicholas went willingly, giddily, repeating the same word, this time in amazed confirmation rather than a question. Camping! With a thumbs up, Derek stood tall. The plan was in motion. Kingsley, you can put your bag down and sit if you want to. I'll grab some other stuff. When moving past you, Derek took a second to lean in and whisper a light-hearted reassurance. The little bros will go to bed before we do, and Mom is going to be watching them tomorrow. You're not here to babysit the whole time again. Okay, cool. The whole group broke off into 3 sets. Derek ran into his room with Nicholas right on his heels, while Mr. and Mrs. Suarez left the space to the kids, returning to their own bedroom. You and Jorge stayed where you were. Jorge shuffled over to the kitchen counter to sit on a bar stool. He wasn't helping, but he wasn't getting in the way. That's not me. I'm in the way always. Every time. All the time. Jorge was more sensitive than he let on, and you made sure to smile reassuringly over at him so he knew he was wanted there. His lips perked up just a little in response. Then you took your own seat on the couch and got to unpacking. The first thing you pulled out of the bag was your stuffed animal. You placed it on the coffee table for safekeeping. You kept busy sorting through it all until Derek returned with the goods. The goods? Hold on, what are the goods? 2 pillows were under each of his arms. He had a few brightly patterned blankets draped over his shoulders. And the rope loop of a big nylon pack was hooked around his wrist. Nicholas supported the effort by carrying one long pillow. He's so precious. He clutched it tight to his chest as best he could, considering the pillow was about as long as his whole torso. Derek piled up the supplies on the opposite side of the couch from where you were. Nicholas opened his arms wide to let his pillow drop to the floor in a soft puff. It made Derek chuckle proudly. I'm gonna put together the tent. Nicholas, Jorge, do you want to help?
I'm gonna put together the tent.
Okay, Nico. Nicholas bounced around Derek in absolute eagerness. In the distance, Jorge pushed away from the counter.
Yeah.
His expression was flat and wide-eyed, but there was a hopeful rise in his voice as he got up from the bar stool. I'm here too, remember? I'm helping. Am I? Let's do it. The declaration made you, Derek, Nicholas, and Jorge get to work making heads and tails of the tent. Derek yanked open the cinched-in top of the pack while he walked to the farthest spot in the living room. Everyone followed his lead. He pushed the semicircle basket chair up against the edge of the counter wall so the tent could go there instead. Derek dumped the contents of the bag into the cream rug. He leaned over on one foot while kicking the other in the air to reach over and grab the instructions that fell out with the rest of the materials. He scanned over the steps briefly, but it was only a refresher. Derek was able to get right into the process. Nicholas was assigned pole control. He kept watch on the pole, not letting any roll away, and would pass the tent legs over when they were needed. Stretching the fabric out to the rest of you, Jorge, and Derek each grabbed a side and tugged. Derek had to squeeze himself against the tall potted plant in the corner. He snickered all the way at the way the leaves curled around his face. Despite that, he got the tent laid out across the ground. The first time Nicholas got to pass a pole, it slapped against the wall in the tiny space you were working in. Jorge covered his ears and ducked. Derek snapped the end out of the air before it could do more damage. The little boy promised to be more careful. He got to keep his job and took it seriously. Piece by piece, the project slowly took shape until it was finally complete. The small, light gray tent sat in its full form nestled into the nook of the living room.
Good job, team.
Alright, good job, everybody! As if he yelled into the cave, an echo of his words followed after. Good job! Nicholas threw his hands in the air with joy. Jorge simply smiled, satisfied. Thanks for the help, everyone. It's a beauty you brought the success. I'm impressed we didn't break it. Derek stuck his fists to his hips and gave the team an encouraging grin. Now he can actually do the indoor camping part of his living room campout. Derek strolled up to the cabin in the corner. Oh, are we making s'mores? He pulled. You know what? I kind of have a taste for marshmallows right now. That's interesting. He pulled open the translucent doors to fiddle around with something inside. A poppy tune blared out. He turned on a CD player. Nicholas flopped into the couch and swung his arms in the air to dance. Jorge swayed his shoulders to bubblegum notes. What are we listening to? Are we listening to Toxic by Britney Spears? Their big brother wasn't done yet. He made a beeline for the kitchen and cupboard next. This time the mood setter Derek retrieved was a pillow-sized bag of puppy marshmallows. Ooh. Catch! That was the only warning before he sent the marshmallows sailing across the room in the perfect arc. Jorge managed to snatch it from the air without a problem. Ooh, go Jorge. That would have hit me straight in the face. The top of the bag was twisted around and sealed with a blue clip. The open side was stretched from the process of twisting and untwisting repeatedly, and had been well appreciated so far. Jorge undid the clip and set it aside on the coffee table. His tongue pressed against the corner of his lips as he dug his hand deep into the bag for just the right one. Nicholas tilted over from the cushion and into the bag to fill his tiny fist with 2 marshmallows. He crushed them between his fingers to the fluffy confection, squeezing through the cracks. It really was a party. Derek put his hand on the cupboard handle and shouted to you over the music. Do you like marshmallows? They're not bad. Yeah, you plucked one out of the bag and ate it as your answer. No, but thank you. Yeah. You shook your head apologetically as your answer. They're not bad. I like one, sure. You grabbed one for nibbling. It wasn't something you wanted to eat most days, but this night was the right time for marshmallows. The cupboard door swung closed, and nothing was there to obstruct your view of the bright grin on his face anymore. He finally joined the rest of the base camp, which was the couch at the moment. Jorge, give me one of those too. Without even one warning, Jorge simply flicked a marshmallow at his brother, and same as before, Derek grabbed it in midair. He bit one piece out of the top edge, chewing thoughtfully. Oh, this family's so athletic. Could not be me. There's no TV while camping, so having a sleepover movie wouldn't make sense. I mean, it's possible. It's possible, dude. You could live in an RV. You could have one of those portable televisions that take batteries. With a swallow of the marshmallow on the top of his fingers, Derek empathetically declared a grand idea. What is on my leg? Nothing. The air. The air was on my leg. We'll play an ad-lib game. I'll make up a story, the 3 of you can fill in some blanks to make it complete. Oh no. Oh no. Am I allowed to type in my own words? This should be interesting. Jorge rolled a shoulder passively. He had finished his first treat. It was poking around the other for another perfect selection. Okay. Nicholas smiled a big white smile, but it wasn't just pearly teeth. His entire mouth was full of marshmallow mush. He took that reaction as a yes. Little ones were on board. Yeah, this is gonna be good. Alright, let me think. We need a noun, a thing you can drive or ride on, a shape, a color, a food, and a drink. Nicholas gulped painfully, forcing down way too much marshmallow goop all at once. But he wouldn't let anyone beat him to the punch. The punch of what? A truck! A truck! Nicholas's eyes were wide. He was practically vibrating from the sugar high he mixed with the chance to add a truck to the story. Derek rubbed his back placatingly. That's the ride, Jorge. The little child plucked at the frayed plastic edge of the marshmallow bag. It might have taken him longer to come up with something than the youngest, but he did contribute an idea. Blue. Cool, we got a color. Kingsley. Let's see. The noun. Should I make a noun? Should I do the food? Should I do the drink? I don't know. You know what? Let's do the drink. Type in a drink. I can't even do a drink. Fine. Slushy. Gotcha. He shifted his focus back to the boys. Derek's expression in the entire way. I was gonna put in blue raspberry slushy because that's the superior slushy and everybody knows that. But I just had to be. I had to simplify me. I like being simplified. Shifted his focus back to the boys. Derek's expression and the entire way he carried himself was different when speaking to them. It reminded you of a teacher interacting with his students. Jorge, Nicholas, give me some more words. Orange! Nicholas, I picked the color. His words were both a low mumble and a higher pitched whine. That was paired with a crinkly noise coming from the marshmallow bag Jorge had started twisting in his hands. Derek swooped in to defuse the situation. He put his arms between the two boys, physically keeping them separated.
This is gonna be great.
Don't worry, that's not the color, it's the food. Jorge huffed. Nicholas grinned single-mindedly at his big brother, oblivious to the trouble he almost caused. That's another thing done. We need something else now. Hexagon. Oh, good one. That's a shape. I'm so proud of Jorge. Look at you. Look at you, Jorge, the favorite sibling. Derek continued to warmly watch over his little siblings, but the words he spoke were for you. Kingsley, you're giving us the last one. A noun. Yeah, the noun should be... Hold on, sorry. Yeah, the noun should be... Type in a noun. Is it a proper noun? What kind of noun do they want from me? I'm overthinking this. What is a noun? I forgot what a noun is. A noun's a person, place, or thing, yeah? I don't know. It's not... Bag. There you go. Here's your noun. His expression somehow softened even more. Awesome. Derek pulled his chest back and folded his arms. He smirked, brows angled, and eyes squinted. I can now tell the story of Baby Castle. The fuck? The fuck is Baby Castle? Hold on, sir. Hold on. Nicholas stamped his feet rapidly into the couch. He was absolutely squealing from the premise alone. Baby Castle? Yes, that's right. In a big open field, there was the stone fortress that was Baby Castle. Everyone who lived there was a little baby, but they didn't need any adults. Their greatest treasure was a giant golden bag at the center of the courtyard. They were always vigilant to protect it from the greedy hands of grown-ups. Jorge snorted. His mouth and cheeks began to pull upwards. I love Jorge. Jorge's so precious. Then one day, someone came to the gates of the castle with their truck. It was a man, not a baby, nor even a kid. He had a hexagon-shaped head and a fancy top hat. He was knocking on the door, demanding to be let in. They were just babies and they needed supervision. What is this story? I love it. It was a blue alert, and the guards were rushing to their stations. The first line of defense was their orange catapult. It was loaded up and then fired. Bullseye! The orange knocked the top hat off his head. The hexagon-shaped man... The hexagon-faced man wasn't deterred. He used his giant grown-up legs to climb over the wall. There was a panic in the castle. He had to be after their golden bag. What's in that bag, do you think? Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot with precision. His hands had gone up in front of him with palms facing forward. He looked like the goalie for a soccer team. But the babies weren't beaten yet. The squirt gun battalion lined up, and soon as the adult stepped foot on the other side, he was coated with slushy. These are some strong-ass babies. Hold on. How many babies are here, do you think? He stumbled back, and the gatekeepers opened the door while he was blinded. He got pushed right out and back into his truck. The guards gave one more shove, and the man with his truck and without his hat slid down the hill and far away. The castle was saved! The babies in their bag were still free! Hooray! The end. What kind of fucking baby castle? Okay, sir. A matching pair of cheers filled the air. Nicholas and Jorge were thrilled by the yarn Derek had spun for them. That was a cute little story. You applauded the grand conclusion of the tale of Baby Castle too. It was a pretty dumb story, but very cute. How Derek entertained his brothers. It is very cute. You laughed into your hand, just as amused as Jorge and Nicholas. It was honestly impressed you how well Derek could improvise. Honestly, yeah, I am impressed. He was a guy of many talents. The living room campsite blowout kept rolling from there. Derek turned the music up louder. Don't you have neighbors, bro? Making sure to skip any track that didn't fit the mood. Jorge and Nicholas swung across the floor to dance. They threw marshmallows in the air and tried catching them with their mouths, and when that got old, they tried to see who could fit the most in their mouth at one time. That's dangerous. Be careful. Derek grooved to the beat and tapped his toes around as he collected the treats they missed, picked up the pillows they knocked to the floor, and patted backs when their stuffed faces made them call. Me the other day when I almost drowned. I told this Tuesday, but I went to the pool. Gil's dad has a pool. I almost drowned in the pool. It was very funny. Like it was a serious thing, but it was also very funny, admittedly. But he wasn't only Mr. Responsible. Derek took his own shot at the marshmallow mouthful competition and blew his little brothers out of the water. The only reason I mentioned that is because he was patting his brothers on the back when they were coughing, and I had Gil do that to me. He was just watching me drown at first. I'm like over here coughing, gasping for air, and I'm like telling him, knock on my back, knock this water out of my lungs. He just stood there for a bit. I'm like, bro. Obviously, I'm not like bro because I can't fucking talk or breathe. Man, took him a bit. You danced along with the boys. You were a new challenger in the marshmallow game. You threw your own marshmallows into the air. You took a turn telling your own ad-lib story. No. As much as I love that little ad-libs, as much as I do, which admittedly I would love to. I would love to do a sleepover stream and we would do ad-libs, we write fan fiction and all the stuff that I used to do as like a little teenager with my friends during sleepovers. I would love to do that. I don't know, sleepover stream would be fun. It'd have to be like, I don't know, maybe like something like if I did, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but like one of those like goal event thingies. That's probably where I would do like a sleepover stream. I might even get like a new model, like a new outfit. You danced along with the boys. You were a new challenger. You know what? Let's dance. You shook it to the left and shimmy to the right. Nicholas took hold of your hand and wiggled your arms together. The chain was extended when Derek took Jorge's hand and nudged him to take yours. Jorge, bestie! You made a massive wave that ebbed through the whole group. As the night continued, Derek moved on from the party hotspot to chill out inside the tent. He was on his side, propped up by his elbow. It took a few minutes for Nicholas to notice his brother's disappearance from his sight lines. You knew the moment it happened. He'd been bounding from cushion to cushion on the couch, but came to a firm stop, sinking his feet deep in the place. A helpless pout flickered on Nicholas's face. Before it was instantly surveyed into a sly grin. Surveyed, curved. The mouse was in the way. I thought that was an S. Still don't know where surveyed came from. There's extra letters in surveyed. Look at me. A mess. Nicholas knew where he could find his favorite person. He leapt from the arm of the couch to land on the entrance of the tent. From there, he sprang forward like a shot straight into Derek, shoving him over onto his back with an oof. Derek didn't get up. He flopped his arms out and laid motionless. 3, 2, 1. Derek was down for the count. Nicholas was the winner. Claiming his victory, Nicholas curled up on Derek's fine chest. He tuckered himself out. He sat stretched out on the blanket beside the tent. He sat balled up on the blanket. Where, can I be with Jorge? Can we be besties? He lay down on the... I know it's about Derek. But I love Jorge. Jorge's bestie. I hope we can become friends with Jorge when we grow up. You sat stretched out on the floor near the tent. You sat balled up on the floor near the tent. You laid down on the floor near the tent. You know what? I'm gonna lay on the blanket inside the tent. Jorge wandered over to sit down cross-legged. He had one shoulder in the tent and the rest of him was out. Okay. Derek's eyes drooped close and he heaved a satisfied sigh.
Sheesh.
I'm too old to keep up with you, bros. You can party way harder than me. He could still muster enough energy to move a hand over his brother's fluffy marshmallow speckled hair. Damn, he got marshmallows stuck in his hair? What is with these? How do you get marshmallows stuck in your hair? That's what I want to know. These aren't even cooked marshmallows. Little boys snuggled his cheek into Derek's jersey even more. Still cross-legged, Jorge took hold of his ankles and rocked himself gently back and forth. The childlike position conflicted how contemplative his next words were.
I wonder what things will be like when we really are older.
Girl saying. That's what I want to know. Brother with the most days behind him smiled softly while his eyes remained shut. That's easy. 10 years from now, I'm gonna be a famous athlete. Nicholas will obviously be the cheer captain at all my games. Not even making your brother a cheerleader. Let him be his own person. Nicholas, what do you want to be when you grow up in 10 years? Hold on, how is he? He's 16. He'll be 16 in 10 years. Maybe Nicholas wants to do his own thing. Maybe Nicholas wants to be on the chess team. Maybe Nicholas wants to be in the theater. You don't know. You don't know. I mean, he can still cheer you on, but don't make him a cheerleader. Don't put him there. I mean, he could want to be a cheerleader. That's up to Nicholas. I'm doing the most right now. Derek earned a squealing giggle from Nicholas. He even kicked a leg out like a puppy who got a tummy scratch. Oh, that's so cute. Jorge, you'll be my career manager. Maybe Jorge wants to do something else. Jorge stopped his movement, sitting a little taller. I mean, that's cute. That's cute. Why am I being a hater right now? I really am. If my brother had told me this shit when I was younger, I probably would have liked it too, but I definitely would have been argumentative about it. Cause I'm like, hey now. A smile pulled at the edges of his mouth. I probably would have been like, no, you're gonna be doing things for me. You know, that's just me. That's just me. Kingsley will be there too. Oh, I will. That perked your own interest, honestly. Yeah, I'll be in the same sports team, whatever it is. No. I'll be Derek's trolley husband. I'm screaming. Yes! I would? What would I be doing? I mean, I want to know. Oh yeah, I'll be in the competing team, whatever it is. I'll take care of the merchandising. You wait for him to keep going. I'm definitely saying this. Definitely saying this. But I really want to know what he thinks I would be. Should I save? No, we're just gonna keep going. No, he's flashing. Derek coughed unintentionally as soon as you said your contribution to the master plan, but he rolled with it. Right. It's the best trophy I've ever won. Top of the shelf. No, it's so cute. That's so cute. Oh. I'm done over here. Then his voice drifted off quietly. Yeah, the four of us would all be neighbors. That's a cute little idea. So you're gonna live next to your parents? At what age are we? 13? 14? 13? At 23? At 23 you're gonna live next to your parents? They're gonna hate that probably. Your heart skipped a beat. He wanted to live next to you? Wait, hold on. No, I just said we're married. I'm gonna live with him. Get it together, Kingsley. Think better. Think higher. You can do better. You can live with him, not next to him. I mean, unless that's just who we are. I'd rather live with him. You know, maybe I want my own house, you know? Maybe I want my own house. Okay. He wanted you to be a part of his future. Derek, Jorge, and Nicholas. You glanced at each other at each of the blah, 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 blah. You glanced at each of their faces and felt glad you got to be here. You went to different schools, lived in 2 different towns, had different families, but sometimes you were able to share your worlds with each other. And maybe someday Derek's story would come true and you'd be even closer. But that time wasn't now, and all too soon the Sora's parents reappeared to take their younger children off for a bed in their own room. Despite nearly being asleep already, Nicholas grasped Derek's shirt when his dad reached in to pick him up. Derek kept his one hand on Nicholas's head and pressed the other against the floor, slowly shifting into a sitting position. Nicholas's vice-like grip made it easy to do without either of them falling over. When he was upright, Derek collected his little brother in his arms fully and shuffled out of the tent. This is pretty cool, huh, Nico? Usually I'm all the way in my room, but tomorrow all you'll have to do is open the door, lock? That says look! Look down the hall and I'll be there. Derek whispered soothingly on the path to the back bedroom, putting to bed not just the delicate bundle he carried, but also the likely resistance the boy would have put up. Jorge trailed behind his other brothers. He didn't need the extra help, but Derek stood in place. He didn't move until the middle one could come up by his side. Altogether, the 3 Sora sons went through the door. He waited in the living room quietly. Maybe a minute or 2 passed before Derek switched off with his parents. He came out empty-handed and they went in. He took wide, tiptoeing steps over to the campsite. His sleepiness from before was wiped away by a second wind of excitement. Oh? Derek made it back to the tent and put a hand to his mouth, watching the hall like a hawk for any sign of his family.
It's all good.
We've got to change into our pajamas, but we don't have to go to sleep for real. You got to your feet, his eagerness rubbing off on you. The both of you quietly bustled between the bathroom and living room, finishing all last-minute prep. Derek's parents lingered at the edge of the hallway, until both you and Derek were completely set. Pajamas on, teeth brushed, the works. Good night, Derek and Kingsley.
Good night.
Sleep well, enjoy the great outdoors. Oh, the living room. I'm trying. Night, Mom. Night, Dad. Good night. Good night, don't let bedbugs bite. Night. Mr. Suarez hit the light. The condo blinked into darkness. There were footsteps, silence, and the click of a door opening and shutting. His parents had returned to their own bedroom, this time to turn in for the rest of the night. The opening and intermission over. Part 2 of the Derek and Kingsley at-home adventure out could begin. Derek went from sitting up perfectly straight, ready for some non-existent interview, to dropping forward to his stomach. He squirmed around using his elbows, the effort fluttered the tent and blankets making a soft crinkling sound. When he had positioned himself facing you, Derek rested his head against the top of his fist. He grinned keenly. The rest of his family might have been right across the condo, but this was still the first chance to talk just between yourselves since the sleepover started. He'd been waiting for it. Hey, Kingsley. His cheeks lifted high enough to push up the bottom of his eyes as he whispered with a childlike sense of secret sharing.
So,
I was wondering, if we were being totally completely serious, what would you want to be doing in the future? Do you have, I don't know, a goal? Or a dream? Yeah, I do. No, I'm not really. You nodded without a word. You shook your head at the question. My dream, it's exactly what you were saying before. I'm serious about that. Oh. Say it with your whole chest. Say it with your whole chest. That made Derek's eyes go wider. He rose off his hand, prop stand just a little, like he had been physically lifted up by growing hope. Really? Really. Imagining you and all the Suarez boys living in the same neighborhood, working together on shared goals is truly perfect. You both relaxed more deeply into the soft bedding around you, likely both picturing the same image in your heads.
wow.
It's a really nice dream. Derek contemplatively rolled over on his back. The arm that had held his chin up was now tucked under his head for support there instead. His eyes never broke away from yours, despite flipping upside down. He could move as freely as he wanted and was taking full advantage of that. When his siblings were around, he had to work with 8 limbs and 2 heads thanks to Nicholas's literal attachment to him. And that got your train of thought fully on the track of siblings. You opened your mouth and said, Do you want kids when you grow up? That's where I felt like I was going. I wish I had a little sibling. I'm so glad I'm the youngest in my family. I wonder what it'd be like to be an only child. I wish my older sibling was as nice as you are. I wish I had a second big sibling. Siblings are I wish my older sibling was as nice as you are. Derek made a valiant attempt to nod along from his lopsided position. Elizabeth isn't a super helpful role model. Sorry if that's mean. Girl, no. It's true. It's true. He covered his mouth with his free hand to keep laughing from getting too loud. Do you ever wish you had a big sibling? How does it feel to be the oldest? What do you want, more or fewer siblings? That's a mean question. I'm not gonna ask him that. You quietly thought about it all. Do you ever wish you had a big sibling? His gaze trailed from yours for the first time so he could stare at the tent ceiling. I don't think so. Maybe I've never needed a big sibling to look up to because I already had someone for that. My dad. Aww, that's sweet. Oh, that makes sense. The air in the near complete darkness had felt warm and comfortable. The atmosphere began to change. It was too subtle to say exactly why, but enough for you to notice. Kingsley? Derek reversed his position again, getting on his stomach. His arms were crossed over the floor in front of him and rested his cheek down against them. Derek's eyes were on the ground too.
Was it annoying?
Would it be weird to ask if you're having fun? No, it wouldn't be weird. Too late, you've already made it weird. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? Why are you asking? You looked at him incredulously. I'm having fun. Yeah, that's great. He clicked his heels together in a rhythm. Soft taps and rustling of the blanket. 1, then 2, and 3, 4 in quick succession. It repeated again. Derek mumbled into his forearm. I was just really hoping this would be a nice time. It penciled up in his face, the tension in his tone, and your heart pounding harder. Everything felt very serious.
Forget it.
It's nothing. No, it's not nothing. The squeezing pain in your chest eased, though somehow it was more of a disappointment than a relief. But I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm definitely missing the Derek cutscenes, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm missing the Derek cutscenes. I want to get the CGIs. Derek sprung up on his palms, bringing his head up to your level and beaming directly at you. Have you watched anything cool recently? Jorge and I have been showing Nicholas a lot of great stuff he couldn't see before because he was too little when they came out. He kicked the ball in a new direction and had too high of a defense for you. What the fuck am I reading? Hold on. When did we get a ball? Did I just skip over that? He kicked the ball in a new direction and had too high of a defense for you to maneuver it back. But that was alright. You could talk to Derek about anything. You and Derek continued to bounce from topic to topic. You quietly spoke your thoughts out in the air while hidden away from the rest of the world in your camp. It went on through the night until you both realized your eyes were opening to the morning sunlight. Aww, that's cute. But there was no peace in Derek's household. I want pancakes. It's morning! After giving his war cry, Nicholas barreled from his room. I really feel like I missed a CGI there. I feel like there was supposed to be a CGI there. From his room and catapulted himself into the tent. That's absolutely so sad. Out of all the DLCs that I've done, I have not gotten a single CGI from Derek. Oh, maybe I'm just bad at this game. Derek wrestled with Nico on the blankets in a tickle fight. It was a memorable way to begin the day. For breakfast, there was a cupboard full of different cereals and an instant oatmeal package to choose from, plus fruits, berries, and nuts to top it with if you wanted. Each bowl was prepared to its owner's specifications, either by themselves or by Mrs. Suarez, for those too low to reach everything. You got mail. Fruity cereal, chocolate cereal, cereal with marshmallows, plain cereal, plain oatmeal, no. I don't eat oatmeal, what I don't want. I'm gonna get fruity cereal. And why are you adding stuff to your cereal? It's weird. That's all I got. Derek chuckled, blowing in the steam of his freshly cooked oatmeal. No! Derek! Not your oatmeal. Glad someone's using that. Oh? Do people not like their fruity cereal? Do you guys have a favorite cereal? Mine have changed through the years. I liked Cocoa Puffs. I liked Cookie Crisps. Now though, I'm more of a Captain Crunch Oops All Berries. I used to like crave with a chocolate in it. Sometimes I am partial to the rice ones. What are they called? I forgot what they're called, but they're like the rice cereal, and I sprinkled sugar in it, and it tastes so fucking good. I want cereal right now, but we don't have milk. We don't have milk, so I can't have cereal, and I don't need cereal. Really, I don't. The life I'm living. You checked, and he was right. Every Suarez had chosen oatmeal that morning. Stirring her own hot bowl of oats, Mrs. Suarez joined the conversation.
Wow.
Dad eats it, and Derek's mom leaned over the edge of the marble counter so she could whisper to you. So does Nico at snack when Derek isn't home. Oh. Ooh. Oh. You glanced down the hallway expecting Derek's dad to come join the family soon, but Mrs. Suarez let you know how Mr. Suarez very sneakily went past you a couple hours ago when you were sleeping. That's such a parent thing to do. Did he give Derek a little kiss on his little forehead? He should have. I hope so. So I'm opening my Gatorade and my coaster fell off because it was stuck to the Gatorade. I need to take a little drink. Sorry about that. Actually, I'm not sorry about that. Derek swallowed a spoonful of peach oatmeal with blueberries to know how his dad had to commute. Derek's mom nodded before moving the conversation forward. Does his mom work? I'll take you home in the evening. The younger ones can stay put with Mr. Suarez then. You'll have a peaceful ride. Your mom's note will be a little late. We worked it out yesterday while you were packing. And I'll be out running errands until then. I will bring the kids. You two can enjoy your time however you choose.
Is that fine?
Yes, it's fine, Mrs. Suarez. Derek stuck a spoon towards the ceiling and gave you a thumbs up from his bar stool. It's peachy. That's so corny of me to say. Derek put his other fist on the counter, double thumbs up. Soon you learned another new thing about Derek's family. His dad commuted very early and all hands were tasked with cleaning up, whether they were guests or not. My bra is like sticking me in the armpit somehow and I don't understand. I don't understand how. Soon you learned another new... I read that already, sorry. The five of you made quick work of breakfast. Then Mrs. Suarez, with some more assistance from Derek, corralled Jorge and Nicholas into the minivan to act as helpers during her daily tasks. What are her daily tasks? What is it like a day in the life of Mrs. Suarez? I want to know. I want to know about my family too, because what the fuck do they do? Did they tell us ever? I think they did. I don't fucking remember. Jorge could properly fulfill that role, while Nicholas was more of an honorary helper who still needed more support than he gave. The title was still exciting enough for him to release Derek for 1 minute so that he could be strapped into the car seat for the drive. I wish you guys stop having car seats, like needing them. I know there's like a height that you're supposed to still be wearing a car seat, but like I don't think I wore a car seat after like age 5. Actually, after age 4, I think is like when I did need a car seat anymore. Maybe even 3. I wasn't a tall kid, but like I'm not tall now. I literally stopped growing at 12. I'm 5'2.5", literally point. So it's like, I guess I did grow faster than most people though. Like I was never like tall. From one job to another, you and Derek were left alone to put the living room back into its proper order. First, your belongings were collected and put aside to make sure nothing got mixed in with the other supplies. The blankets were stuffed back into Derek's room in the spare closet, and any loose marshmallows were discovered to have escaped being devoured and ended up on the floor were thrown in the trash. Your campsite became a hollow shell of what it once was. That's the one thing I don't like about like making tents and like forts, is it feels so empty after you take them down. It's like, oh, there was greatness here once, you know? Now it's like, the land is bare. It's barren. No fruits have grown. It had ended so quickly, but a short adventure in the great outdoors of the Suarez living room was better than none. It was just a minor miracle that you got to come. We didn't forget that. Lastly, the two of you worked as a team to break down the tent itself. You slipped out each of the poles, retracted them to their smaller size, and began to get them packed away into a sturdy bag that came from the night before. While floating up one of the legs, Derek lightheartedly chatted with you.
Oh man.
I'm so excited the whole day. We can do anything before you gotta go. Walk to the park, watch a movie, get food somewhere. Oh, let's get food somewhere. Let's get food somewhere. If you were being entirely honest with yourself, the thing he was suggesting and the way he said it almost made you think it was a date. Another date? But Derek certainly didn't claim it was. Of course he wouldn't. He's shy. I get it. I'm shy too. He hummed along with the bounce of his pose. He was having plenty of fun just doing regular chores with you. The good mood was infectious. It's great. I was just thinking about how I'm surprised my mom's let me come today. Out of nowhere, Derek twitched like he was hit by a bolt. His hands flipped over protectively and the pole fumbled out of his grasp. It clattered against the wooden floor. The sharp sound made Derek wince. He gave a meek apology while the leg rolled back against his sneaker just as pitifully. Sorry. Derek bent his knees and gripped at his shirt's edge on the way down before he reached out to pick up what he'd dropped. What were you saying? That was pretty off. You didn't miss the blaring sign completely, the warning sounds that something was up, but he obviously wasn't comfortable, so you tried to let it go. Could not be me. I would not let that go. It could not be me. I was just talking about my moms. Usually, they're really strict about sleepovers. I can't do it out of nowhere. It's a planned thing. Having it be a camp out in the living room must have helped a lot. He gave a bit of a shrug and scanned around for another piece to put away. I'm gonna have to keep that trick in mind. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. They are like that. Derek fiddled uselessly with the dark gray rubber foot at the end of the pole. He was pretending to keep busy. He wondered if he remembered what the two of you were supposed to be busy with. It wasn't going away, whether you ignored it or not. Did you think they didn't like you, or that I meant something else? No, forget it. It's dumb and doesn't matter. He threw the words at you. It was final and way harsher than you expected from Derek. The sharp edge of it wasn't for you. That part was directed towards himself. He'd never slept over at his house before. If it'd been your guess for why it might have been a little awkward, it was clearly more to it. You frowned. I don't care if it's dumb. I want to know. His brows angled at the same time. A tight bend formed in the tent leg. The way he twisted in between his hands was too much for the thin piece of pole. He didn't say a word. You can always talk to me about things, you know. He spoke confidently. Derek, this isn't funny. Tell me what's happening. No. You gave him an encouraging smile. You stared impatiently. No. You can always talk to me, bro. He held his eyes tight and dropped the leg on purpose this time. Despite all the effort it took him to ask you to come in the first place, that paled in comparison to this. Suddenly, it seemed like he wished you were anywhere but right here. Oh, I can't tell you. Derek's voice was an impotent whisper. You'll think I'm the most annoying guy in the world. I am the most annoying guy in the world. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? It was such a bad idea. It was sneaky and judgy. I shouldn't have bugged you, but I already did. It's too late. Derek's posture pulled closer and closer together as he spoke. His fist tapped against the front of his chest and his knees bent inward. I thought we were going on a date. Why are you doing this to us? The pressure building inside was exerting a real force on him. What if you don't want to be friends anymore? What? What? Last part almost disappeared before you had a chance to hear it. He looked small and lost. I'll always be your friend. It's never gonna happen. Jerry, please. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't understand. Don't understand. I don't understand. Alright, seriously, now spit it out. I'll always be your friend, bud. Finger pole compounding, causing cracks where more words could slip through. I got a reason why I invited you when I did. Why I need to be now. Yes. Even though his eyes creaked open, Derek wasn't looking at you, but finally he sucked in a breath and took the plunge. Kingsley, today was Father's Day. Oh. Oh, okay. Your jaw dropped. So he didn't want to just, okay. You completely forgotten that was today. You knew what day it was, but couldn't have guessed that was Derek's motivation. Girl, it's August. Father's Day is in what, June? You telling me it's still this early in the summer? Okay. That's so funny to me. That's so. I love that. That's hilarious. You could put it. I can't get over that. It's Father's Day. I can't. You could put it together immediately, and though you were still stunned, you could put into words. I can't put it into words. This is hilarious. You thought I was gonna be sad because it's Father's Day and I don't have a dad. Derek lowered his head and pressed his shoulders up to his ears, trying to hide from the sound. Well, I wasn't thinking for sure that you'd be sad. I didn't know how you were gonna feel about any of it, and that's what was chewing at me. Derek poured out words one after another, trying to explain himself and the conflicting feelings he had bottled up the entire time. The floodgates had been opened. I will never get over this. I will never get over this, Derek. Thank you for this. I appreciate it. It's not like I was around last year when this happened. I couldn't help wondering if it was a normal thing, or a good time, or a low point, or whatever. But I don't live in Sunsetburg. I can't walk on over like it's nothing to check. I had to come up with some other dumb way to be around. That's actually so sweet. Derek's speaking pace slowed, and his blinks picked up speed. His rapid flow of words went from explanation to admonishment. It was enough for him to choke on. But that's stupid because it actually... No, sorry. But that's stupid because if you actually wanted to be anywhere near you today... If you actually wanted me to be anywhere near you today, you could have asked yourself. And your moms are great, better than most dads, and you've got Elizabeth too. I'm sorry, is Elizabeth supposed to be a stand-in for my non-existent dad?
Sorry.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth. Okay. I shouldn't have made a whole big thing out of it because I've made stuff up in my head. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And then it went bone dry into silence. Derek dropped his arms to his sides in defeat. I hope they give me an option to laugh. I really do. He could only look at you out of the corner of his eyes. He was such a sweet guy. Poor kid, his seriousness about something like this was hilarious. Okay, I might pick this one. Derek had been trying to look out for you. The realization made you grateful. You shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. It wasn't something you asked for. It was infuriating that he butted into your family. Knowing Derek viewed things that way was strange. You weren't sure how to feel. This is fucking hilarious. You laughed. You covered your face with your hands. You hugged him. You gave him... I'm laughing. This is funny. It just came out and you wrapped your arms around your stomach. Derek's caution turned to confusion. Kingsley? You're really cute, Derek. That's not dumb. Thank you. I'm lucky to have someone like you. I'd never hate you for worrying about me. I'm lucky to have someone like you. Really? You're not gonna tell me to call your mom to come get you and walk out the door and never talk to me again? That's what you thought was gonna happen?
Maybe?
I figured you'd at least say I'm a pain. Alright, you're a pain. Happy? It's done. Derek crumbled over, gripping his hands against his legs and releasing a massive sigh like he'd finished a marathon. Wow, okay. Okay. I'm sorry still. I should have just asked you instead of creepily making you come to my house so I could watch and see if maybe I could figure it out without having a normal conversation. Derek, what the fuck? That would have worked too. The emotional exhaustion from carrying that stress on his back really had taken its toll. Derek crouched completely and plopped into the floor. You eased down to sit next to him. He tugged his legs up against his chest and tapped the top of his knees shyly. He was the last kid waiting to be picked for a team on the playground. You were the captain and who could include him. Would you want to talk now? I think that'd be good. Talk about what? What are we gonna talk about? Me not having a dad? Are you gonna be my new dad, Derek? A ghost of a smile appeared on Derek's face. It didn't compare to the ear-to-ear grin you were used to, but was enough to make everything feel a little more normal, a little more right. Honestly, Derek, I forgot it was even Father's Day. We don't celebrate it, and it doesn't matter to me at all.
What?
You did? Derek smacked his head against his legs, humiliated. Oh, poor baby. But you could hear a few tiny chuckles, and you could see the way the laughter made his shoulders shake. I really dropped the ball, huh? I was driving myself crazy for nothing. That's not true. It's nice that you cared. Sorry, hold on. I have air stuck in me. Okay. Sorry. I had to release it gutturally. Gutturally? You couldn't hear it probably, but like it comes through the throat. Like, I don't know if you guys, like, when you guys burp, do you like burp or do you like try to like ease it out so it's not loud? I try to ease mine out. But sometimes it can't be helped. I know I have someone who really worries about me, and that's pretty special. That was coming from Kingsley. Hold on, let me reread that. That's not true. It's nice that you care. I know I have someone who really worries about me, and that's pretty special. Derek's face tilted over to the side just enough for you to see the redness tinting his cheeks. Thanks, Kingsley. Derek waited there on the floor silently, still curled up in the ball. If there was more he needed to tell him, he wasn't going to miss it. Was it like having a dad? Is it different than how it's like with your mom? I hope this didn't ruin your own Father's Day celebration. I'm glad I've got 2 moms. I wish I had a dad like yours, but you always out there saying nothing else. No, what's it like to have a dad?
Oh.
Tell me about your dad. His parents weren't here, but his gaze automatically went to the hall that led to Mr. and Mrs. Suarez's room. We had no idea what was on his mind, so you needed to wait for him to say it. Derek ultimately shrugged one shoulder and tilted his head back to you. You know what? We didn't have this moment with Cove. We did not have this moment with Cove. Because we could have asked Cove this, but... Or maybe we did have this moment with Cove at one point. I really don't remember. It is kind of different. My mom is really a mom, and my dad's a dad. What? Oh yeah, that all makes sense. Can you elaborate on that one? You blinked at him incredulously. What? Sorry. He scratched at his ear. Derek heard the way his own words sounded just as well as you did. I think what I mean is, like, mom is nice because she loves me and I love her and it's great. We can just be together and it's like I don't have to grow up so fast. It's okay the way it is. It's not exactly how it is with dad, because I want to be like my dad and I'm not. I want to get mature and responsible and do more. I don't feel like I'm good enough when I've got to compare myself to him. Aw, that's a little sad actually. Derek blinked. He caught himself losing track of the topic. It was going where it wasn't supposed to, and Derek put a stop to it. But it's not bad. It isn't like he's trying to make me feel that way. I mean, some dads do that with their children. They're like, you gotta be better. You gotta, we're in competition. Some moms do that with their children too. It's weird. He pushed a couple inches off the ground using his heels and tipped backward a bit. Then it fell into place again, and Derek looked like a tiny rocking horse. A slight grin cracked open between his lips as he swayed. And I bet a lot of kids don't have that kind of thing about their dad. They want to be like their mom or both their moms. Huh? That's interesting. I don't get it. Thanks for trying to explain it to me. I think you're good already. Good with your goals. You simply, I think you're good already. Thanks, Kingsley. I want to be like my mom. I want to be like my mom. I want to be like my mom. I want to be like me. And then you smile and you shrug. I want to be like my ma. You can do it. You're already nice like her. Oh, thanks. Derek's voice was slowed and stumbled. He squinted his eyes as if looking at you was blinding. It was the way he spoke when he forced himself to confess something he wasn't planning on admitting. Also, well, Kingsley, since we're talking about mom and dad, I want to tell you, they kind of know why I wanted you to come over. I didn't tell them exactly. I want a burger. I don't know where that came from, but I want a burger, and we don't have a burger. We have pork steak. I gotta make pork steaks. I don't want to make pork steaks. I'm tired of pork. Not that that matters. Sorry. This is my strain of my consciousness. I didn't tell them exactly, but yesterday they somehow figured out I was worrying, and before I could do something to stop it, they put it all together. I don't know how parents do that. They wanted to help. They wanted to help me help you if you needed it, but they didn't have any idea that I was just being nosy and you didn't give me any real reason to worry. I understand. It's hard to pretend something is nothing when it's not, and it was really important to you. It was, for sure. Thanks. I hope doing this didn't ruin your own Father's Day celebration.
No way.
He slapped the palm against the hardwood floor that made the outburst even more startling. Bro, calm down. Derek stared at you with complete seriousness. All he wanted is getting a card sometime. And my bros might get him little kid kind of gifts. A flower from the park or a Lego guy or something. That's so cute. A Lego guy. Imagine getting your dad. Imagine going to the park, finding a random Lego man in the sand pit, and just be like, oh, dad would like this, and then bringing your dad this Lego guy. I can't. Oh my god. I can't. For Father's Day, we used to get my dad like socks and slippers and robes and ties. Like, what do dads like? Well, nowadays I ask my dad, like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Father's Day? I think last Father's Day I got my dad a personalized grill set, like not like a grill set, but like the thingies, the tongs and shit that has his name on it. And so this year he wanted a matching robe, like not a robe, an apron. So that's what I got him. My dad's a grill master apparently. He be grilling. Your being here too is for sure not gonna ruin it. Don't worry about that. Dad only wants to party all day on birthdays, but you could still come to those anyway. Okay, sure, I'll come to your dad's birthday party. That's good. Nothing would have made you feel worse than having Derek throw away his and his family's celebration to try to give you one. But it was easy to believe what he said. He wasn't placating you. Placating? Derek wasn't a liar, even if sometimes he didn't tell you every thought and feeling in his head. Well, that doesn't make anyone a liar. I wish I had a dad like yours. A furrow grew deep into Derek's brow. For a moment, he couldn't face you. When he spoke, there wasn't any hardness in his words, and they spread over you as warmly as a fuzzy blanket.
Well,
Secretly, I'm pretty sure Dad always wanted an even 4 set of kids. No. No. There's still a spot open. Why don't we leave that to your parents to decide? Maybe I'll take you up on that. Sign me up. Thanks. Sorry, I'm not sure I can handle 3 new brothers. Derek's offer made you smile. We didn't know how to react. Sign me up. It's a deal. Oh, we can't date now if we're siblings. That's weird. Derek hugged his legs and pressed his chin against the top of his knees. He had a heart-meltingly hopeful smile on his face. Oh, hey, why don't you do something for my dad? You could give him a gift or just wish him a good Father's Day when he gets back from work. We've got the whole afternoon before you're gonna leave. It'd work out and I know Dad would love it. I'll think about it. I'm glad I've got 2 moms. I love them.
I get it.
Definitely, I get that. They're really good. That was an understatement. Your moms were some of the best people in the world. I mean, that's a bit biased, but okay. Mentioning them took you right back to the fun times you had with your family. My moms were happy sharing Mother's Day with each other for the parent-based holiday. Though one time, Mom joked about how they could switch off. One could have the actual Mother's Day to herself, and the other could make Father's Day be the other Mother's Day. Derek, okay. Despite Derek's lingering awkwardness, Mom's joke still pulled some snickers from him. I'm tired of saying this word. Get new words, please. There's a whole thesaurus full of them, I'm sure. I know. I'm not sure. I'm for a fact there are. She would have been thrilled to know that. That's compromise. Mom is so funny. It really would have missed opportunity to not ask her to do that. Totally. But that's why we've never done anything for today. You say I don't have shit else to say. All the options are gone. Your thoughts drifted away from Derek and even from you. They floated across the condo, out of the window, off into the vast summer sky. As a silence settled between you, Derek plucked at his shoelaces and chewed on the inside of his cheek uncomfortably. When he felt the need to fix everything or make it all better, it was a major hitch, and it was not your problem to solve. You know what I just fucking realized? I never crafted any of the other items. I didn't make any food either. I'm sorry about that. Not that you care, not that you're here for Animal Crossing, but I just forgot about it. I remembered it, and I'm so upset. The air conditioner whirled in the background. Through your fuzzy filling mind's eye, you could picture your mom's and your big sister. Then your brain and your body suddenly snapped together in full focus. Wait, what about Elizabeth? The mention of her name got the same instant reaction from Derek. Fuck Elizabeth. Fuck Elizabeth. Nobody gives a shit about her. I love Elizabeth, don't get me wrong. It's just Elizabeth's a bitch at this age. I mean, but aren't all teenagers? That you just experienced. His eyebrows lifted, his mouth open, tongueless, and a small... Oh. She actually, like... She acts like she's over everything, but I think I remember. Back when we were little kids, she would get mad on Father's Day. See, I'm the normal kid. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not normal. This is a perfectly normal reaction. As an adopted child that has two mothers, I can understand where Elizabeth's coming from. I do. Maybe that's why she was so aggressive yesterday. She didn't have friends who were coming over or anything, and moms had work. And now I'm gone too. I want French fries. I want curly fries. Derek looked hard at the front door. Was he expecting her to walk through it, or was he planning on running over to Sunset Bird to check? I had no idea. Shoot. I thought there might have been a chance of that. It worried you she was totally alone. You were so upset you were stuck out here. No! There was a horrible realization you abandoned your sister. You tried to consider the possibilities as best you could. You turned it off, it was her problem. You know what, I do feel a bit bad. I hope she's okay. Can I call her? That is your phone. Derek, do you think you could call my house? I want to go home. You said nothing. Well, let's call her. Let's give her a little ring. Definitely. That's a good idea. Derek unfurled himself, got off the floor, and trotted into the hallway with purpose. Walked right where the living room narrowed into the hallway set against the front wall was an off-white telephone. Is it attached to the wall? Or is it wireless? The phone at your house was wireless. Derek's had an elastic looped... Nope, okay. My question was answered. Elastic looped line that kept the receiver from going more than a couple feet away from its face. Visions of Nicholas launching a cordless phone into the air purely for his own entertainment made their way across your mind. The option the Suarezes went with was the most practical for their family. Your siblings, however, would throw a fit if she couldn't chat with her gal pals in private. Ew. Gal pals. Elizabeth, you wondered what she was thinking about right now. But you couldn't have to imagine for longer. Derek didn't waste any time taking the receiver off the hook and offering it to you. There had been many times in the past Derek used that very device to call your house so the two of you could chat about your lives, make plans for, and whatever else. You'd literally ended up on the other side of things, poised to give the Rigel line a ring from the Suarez condo. From Derek and punched the number. You couldn't remember the number offhand, but it was written down in your bag. You froze. You couldn't remember the number. Derek, I don't remember it. My house number. Derek, I don't remember. Oh, no worries. I got it. Derek turned his wrist around so he could punch the number in himself. He had it memorized. Okay, nice to know. Then when it was all ready to go, he held it out for you again. By the way, I would remember my house number. I do. Do I? No, I don't think I remember my house number. I remember my old streets, though. Then, when it was all ready to go, he held it out for you again. You took it from him with a sheepish but appreciative smile. When you pressed the cool speaker against the side of your face, you heard the high-pitched dial tone playing on repeat. It rang and rang, waiting for one specific person miles away to answer its call. Finally, she did. Hello? Your sister's unmistakable voice filtered through the phone. The impatient note in her voice was just as recognizable. She didn't even know who it was and already sounded uninterested. Hello, Elizabeth. Guess who it is? Apparently her apathetic approach was being generous because once she did find out who it was, she cranked the attitude up to the outright annoyance. Oh my gosh, I can't stand your ass, Elizabeth. Kingsley? What do you want? You were facing the wall, but your peripheral view... You could make out Derek glancing with wide eyes. The conversation had actually started. That was all the insight he had on the situation. I don't need anything. Oh, just go on the chat. Well, do you need anything? How are you today, Elizabeth? How are you today, Elizabeth? I'm just great. What do you think? What on earth is wrong with you? You're having a bad day, right? Excuse me? Listen, Kingsley, unless the police, firefighters, an ambulance, or our moms are involved in whatever it is that you're doing, tell me when you get back. You sputtered to get out something, anything, from my reacher, but it was in vain. The line clicked dead without a goodbye. You kept staring at the phone pointlessly. You couldn't move to look at Derek. Oh my gosh, I can't. We were hand holding the receiver lifelessly dropped to your side. Kingsley, what happened? She hung up. Despite the near single-digit amount of seconds your conversation lasted, Elizabeth's frustrated tone had come through loud and clear. A pit began to form in the bottom of your stomach. Your sister wasn't happy, and you felt terrible. The wish to have never called her, and the wish to have never come to this place, fought with you for supremacy. What wish? I didn't have any of these wishes. The hall felt cramped, and you were suddenly uncomfortable being surrounded by these walls. Derek watched you helplessly, his fingers tense, clenching and displaying again. I came here because I thought we were going on a date. What is happening? A moment passed, then he let out a heavy breath. He wasn't powerless anymore. Was he powerless in the first place?
Got a plan.
Okay, you have a plan. You do? You raised your eyebrow. The promise of possibility gave you enough of a push to move your hand as well and place the receiver back into the base. Derek sprinted through the living area and into his bedroom. The clatter of drawers opening and papers flying came through his open door. You slowly stepped on the edge of the hall to try to glimpse what was happening on the other side of the condo. He soon came bounding on again, clearly successful at something. Derek tossed a stack of colorful folded pamphlets across the surface of the coffee table. You jogged over to meet him there. Didn't tell what they were for from a distance. Let's bring the party to Elizabeth. Girl, she hung up on me. What do you mean, bring her to the party? There are bus schedules. Oh my god, we're taking the bus? No. These are bus schedules and stuff. I've only gotta look at what the times are and we can leave. Why do you have those? That's a real question right there. He chuckled mischievously. You know what I say, it's good to be prepared. And I did wonder about this kind of stuff before. I can't drive, but what if there was an accident or other emergency or whatever? I need to be someplace right away. I already know a lot of public transportation stuff because of that. Okay. Derek, he really is prepared. He's that guy. I would trust Derek with my life, honestly. Jerry began to shuffle the papers around and he flashed you a bright grin. But I didn't think I'd be pulling this out so that I could go see Elizabeth of all people. Honestly, same. Derek laughed lightheartedly over the joke. The words didn't feel very breezy to you. That was because it was honest, but it blah 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 blah. That was because if he was honest, it wasn't about your sister. He'd spent time studying ways to get the sunset bird for his friends, for Cove, and for you. That's so sweet. With you and him living away from each other and not going to the same school, sometimes it seemed like maybe you stopped being a piece of his life once he left your town. This proved you definitely didn't disappear for Derek. He cared about you even when you weren't there, and you could count on him even more than you had known. Wait, hold on. Let's go back a second. So his dad has to commute, but he lives in the same town as his business. If anybody has to commute, it's Cove's dad. Why does his dad have to commute? Do they live that far away from, I guess, from a little, like, boardwalk beach area? I suppose. It's interesting. It's interesting that he has to commute. That's all I have to say. Okay. Let's move past it. While you were stuck inside your own head, Derek had his nose in the brochures. He pressed his palms on the table, fervently scanned the timetables, and rambled more about his scheme. Derek is better than me. I could not take the bus. I took the bus like maybe twice in my life, and it was a no from me. It could never be me. I cannot take public transportation. There isn't a direct line to Sunset Bird. It's kind of a small place. We can take a bus to the rail station and get on a smaller shuttle for tourists. Derek's hands lifted from and then hit the smooth surface under him, making a solid smack noise. He was done researching. His gaze flicked up to your face. Is that okay? Are you seriously gonna do this? Thanks, Derek. That's good enough. You balled your hands into his fist and nodded. Are you seriously doing this? I'm as serious as you are. His absolute conviction was enough to convince you. You nodded. Derek is trouble. But you can leave a note from my mom about what happened, or... Derek packed up his pamphlets, sticking them in the crook of his arm, and twisted his head behind him, but whispered to you covertly over his shoulder. If it makes you feel better, we might be able to get back before she even knows. We should tell her. Yeah, we should tell her. One sec. Derek dashed to the back room with all the bus schedules in his arms. He shoved them into something, then ran up to rejoin you at the front of the condo with the bag swung over his shoulder. This is the longest. Derek has the longest fucking backstories here, like his little DLCs. They're fun. They're fun though for a while, but now it's just like, okay, this is a bit tedious. Next, he went to the kitchen to grab a notepad, pen from the counter. He hopped up on his tiptoes to lean over and scribbled a few rows of explanation on the paper. He jabbed the button to retract the pen nib with his thumb and set it down alongside the note.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Right. You scooped up your own backpack, and the two of you locked the now empty apartment behind you. At a brisk pace, Derek led the way out of the condo complex and down the city sidewalks. You had to weave through crowds of people making their own way across town. Most of them were much older and taller than you were. Between the massive strangers and the mist skyscrapers bearing down on you from all sides, you felt like a very small part of a bigger world. You took Derek's hand. Derek offers his hand to you. Take his hand, snatch it up. That's my man, I'm gonna stick beside him. He wrapped his own fingers around yours and held tight. They gave you the reassurance you hoped it would. You were in this together. You pushed forward until you reached the nearest bus stop. A group had already gathered in the same spot for the same purpose. Derek didn't fight to reach the front of the pack. He just kept to his fringes. You waited for anywhere from 5 minutes to 50 minutes. It was pretty impossible to track time accurately when you felt every single sluggish second hit you like a brick. No matter how long it actually was, it was enough time to think. As part of you had felt as though you couldn't possibly seriously get on a bus and go back to Sunset Bird without any of your parents, that just wouldn't happen. That was probably why you went along with Derek's impulse as quickly as the idea had struck him. But reality hit you like a bus when an actual bus turned a corner and came your way. You gave Derek's hand another squeeze. He responded by tugging you a little bit closer to him. Oh my god, this is so cute. The massive vehicle hit its brakes and slowed to a halt. The doors opened to let out those who arrived at their destination and accept new riders. The crowd jostled together and filtered through from the door. You and Derek went in the tail end of the group. You had enough change in your pocket to pay the fare. Derek flashed a bus pass for his entry. Where the fuck did you get a bus pass? The city bus was overflowing with people as the streets were. You had to shuffle while turned to your side to get through the aisle without knocking into the arms or legs of other passengers. There's barely enough space to breathe. Humid summer days had never been more miserable. You couldn't even find seats that were side by side. Instead, you had to settle for 2 aisle seats that were across the way and one diagonal from each other. That meant you had to let go of Derek, which was the worst of it all. No! The automatic door creakily swung closed. You rocked as the wheels began to turn. You began to feel nauseous. Despite what was going on, it was exciting. I'm scared. I don't want to be here. You curled your hand around the edge of the seat like a death grip. It couldn't be over soon enough. But then you heard your name over the din. Kingsley, we can do it! The soft look on his face and the encouragement in his voice was directed solely towards you. It was all he could offer, and it was enough. Thanks. Your lips perked up slightly at the edges of your mouth. Edges of your mouth, that's what that said. Oh my god. Derek didn't attempt to carry on the conversation. Not that he really could in the hectic space with distance between you. He'd become completely focused on watching for your stop. He had a destination he needed to get you to, and he was going to do it no matter what. More steps passed by until eventually Derek leaned his chest over the open space to send a quick message. His tone was breathy like a whisper, but way too loud to really be whispering. This is it. He shifted upright immediately and tugged the bell, marking it as a stop for the driver. Soon the bus came to a cautious halt along the edge of the curb. Once at a full stop, the doors popped open and you repeated the awkward shimmy through the aisle so you could exit. When your feet landed on the cracked ground, you sighed in relief. It was over. You made it. This is really good. On Derek's first step into the station, he pulled one of the brochures out of his pocket and flipped it open. He must have kept the single pamphlet with the necessary details when packing the rest of the collection away, which is smart of him to do. I would hope he would have done that. Derek was prepared as always. He held it up to his face, mapping out the station, using the guide like a treasure hunter. You wandered around the wide open floor, plan, searching up and down the section where shuttles would load passengers. I'm sorry, the words. There's so many words. You were the first to spot the one vehicle and headed towards a tiny tourist town. It made you stop in place. Derek! Yeah? I just completely switched places. At the sound of his name, he shifted his face up above the station map and saw what you saw. Oh! The shuttle was barely 1/4 the size of the bus. It was a glorified van. You only recognized it for what it was, thanks to the unusual pale orange paint job, and also the word shuttle painted in blue across the doors. He tucked the bus schedule pamphlet into his back pocket and gave you a thumbs up. Derek bought tickets at a nearby customer service counter. There was no humoring the possibility of you buying your own ticket or paying for both. That wasn't a hill to die on today. Then you were ready for another trip. You poked your head inside the cabin. Only a handful of travelers were nestled between the 4 rows of seats. From the seat cushions to the smell, the shuttle was immensely more agreeable than the bus. You were even able to get spots side by side this time. Yay! Excuse me. Derek, though, wasn't in any more of a mood to talk. The physical atmosphere might have improved, but the discomfort he felt on the inside was still eating at him. You could only sit in silence. For all the gnawing tension, you did make it. The shuttle inevitably came to its stop at Sunset Bird parking lot. In the Sunset Bird parking lot, the car was switched off, and the driver gave permission for guests to leave. While the other riders leisurely shuffled around back set by their feet and then readjusted their hats, you and Derek hopped right off into freedom, Christ. Derek took a couple stumbling steps over his heap after his leap from the car and then stood in place. He watched for your next move, counting on your guidance to finish the journey. It was time to switch roles. Sunset Bird was your turf, not his. You spun in a single circle, scanning the area for clues to which of multiple big, flat, mostly empty parking lots you'd landed in. When you swung back around, you saw a glimpse behind the shuttle, spotted at the corner of a grocery store. You couldn't have been closer to home. We're almost there. This way. You waved your hand over your shoulder and towards the main street to rally your single troop for a change. I'm not going back to read it. Awesome. Nice work, Kingsley. He made a break for it and launched across the blacktop. You ran with him. There was no time to lose. Derek was so fixated on he might accidentally leave you in the dust if you didn't push yourself. You flew out the parking lot and dashed down the sidewalk you'd seen a million times before. From there was a turn into the residential area. Before you knew it, you arrived at the top of the hill on your street. You were so close. The decline of the road propelled your steps even further. Let's see further or faster. I'm like so out of it right now. I really am. I'm trying to get back into it. It's just so much reading. I complain as I'm playing a graphic novel. Is it a graphic novel? What was it supposed to be called? I don't remember the words. Don't ask me for words. We're done with words apparently today. Derek almost crashed into you when you both dove towards the entryway of your house. You caught yourself by bracing your hands against the front door. It took a second for you to separate your stinging palms from the wood so you could get your key out. But you got it in the lock, turned the key, and pulled. Finally huffing and puffing, you stumbled inside. You were home. After everything, you almost didn't know what to expect when you laid your eyes on the scene. What's happening? But it was your living room, exactly as it was every day of your life. Not a thing was out of place. The low hum of your fridge was the only sound. Elizabeth clearly hadn't torn the house apart in the emotional rampage, although you didn't want her to know. Although you didn't know what her room looked like. Kingsley? You snapped your head to the sound, and there she was, standing on the first step of the stairs. Elizabeth. Her mouth remained open despite not saying anything else. An eyebrow was arched high on her forehead. Hi. Hi. Wait, is that why you were calling? Tell me you were coming back way early? No. You explained everything directly. You joked about the whole debacle. You awkwardly admitted what was going on. You casually broke down the situation. Let's break it down. Casual style. You caught your breath, settled down, and simply let her know your thought process. Derek and I had been talking earlier, and we decided to come see you to see... No, words. Derek and I had been talking earlier, and we decided to come see how you were doing. It is Father's Day. She let out a single derisive, I think that's derisive, bark of laughter, and more was threatening to spill out. It wasn't the worst reaction you could have gotten, all things considered. See? She thought it was hilarious too. How did that even come up? The tip of Derek's foot scuffed at the wooden floor. Ma kept sparkling clean. He meekly confessed his part in the debacle. I wanted Kingsley to spend the night at my place so I could make sure he wasn't sad or something. That's what I was hoping for anyway, but it wasn't a great plan. He couldn't keep sneaking a shy glance at you. The mocking humor that colored her face was wiped away. In an absolutely deadpan way, she said 2 words. That's adorable. That was enough to end the conversation. Derek had no comeback and your sister simply stared blankly. Was this a mistake? Should we not have come? Does that mean you're okay? Come on, how are you really doing, Elizabeth? You didn't speak either. Does that mean you're okay? A seriously uncomfortable 3-way staring contest commenced. You kept your focus locked on your sister. She did the same to you. Derek flip-flopped between Elizabeth and you. Then Elizabeth caved. She pinched the bridge of her nose and groaned dramatically. Fine, you kids win. Today was annoying. Not because I care that I only get to have 2 moms and can't celebrate Daddy Day. Daddy Day, okay, that's a weird way to say that. It's because every year everybody else is busy and I'm stuck doing nothing. And so no, I wasn't in a sunshine and rainbows kind of mood. It didn't help that you ended up getting off that boat either. Okay. And then you called me. She wiped an accusatory finger right at your chest, bro. Chill out. You'd gone off to have a party with your friend out of nowhere and decided while doing that to give me a ring while I was stuck in the house like a loser? Rude, girl. That's why I hung up. That's why? Okay. Being a little bitch there, I don't know. Her smirk returned much more earnest than before. I didn't think you were gonna race across the city to keep me company. The kind of affection teasing from your only older sister warmed your heart. It was special, and all the discomfort was worth it. You could tell today would be something to laugh about for years to come. Derek remained serious. He blinked in a rapid succession and mustered up will to continue with his regretful appeal. Elizabeth, I'm really sorry for not thinking about this more. Elizabeth cut that right off. She swished her hand in front of her face, trying to physically bat away Derek's sentiment. Don't be, please. Save your energy. She settled the tips of her fingers against the center of her forehead, her other hand resting on her hip that she jutted out to the side. It's not your job to babysit me. You're not my big brother, and I'm not the one you like. Oh, ooh. And if he was, though? Elizabeth was as sassy as ever. I feel like I didn't say her name right. Elizabeth was as sassy as ever, and Derek's overly self-reflective maturity seems childish when cast in that light. A dark British blush grew across Derek's cheeks, but he smiled. It was a good reminder that he demanded a lot more from himself than others did. As if, for the first time, your sister appraised you and Derek, huddled together, sweaty and frumpy from the journey. Oh dear, where are my manners? I've got guests and haven't even offered them a drink. She shrugged one arm while sashaying over to the kitchen and opening the fridge. Not very politely, Elizabeth shouted out while sticking her head into the chilled shelves. What do you want?
Thanks.
Just water, please. Thanks. Ooh, I can have apple juice. Apple juice mix. Lemon lime soda. Give me that lemon lime soda. Give me that Sprite. Give me that spicy water. A water and lemon lime soda. She set a bottle of water and a can of soda promptly on the counter. When her hands were free, she reached back into the fridge to snag a carton of tropical juice, as well as a glass for herself. Elizabeth poured a glass of juice for herself. Okay. One more time, Elizabeth, the demure hostess she was, shouted at you from the kitchen. Come and get it! She punctuated the statement by bumping the fridge door shut with her hip. Then she walked back to the living room, taking a sip of her juice. Derek took it upon himself to pick up both of your drinks. Aw, sweet. He went straight to the kitchen. You grabbed the drinks, and then returned to offer you yours. You accepted it from him. Thanks. It made your sister snicker over the rim of her glass. Her gaze stayed on you while she lowered herself slowly down to sit on the floor. You shared a quick look with Derek, but ultimately joined your sister on the ground. 3 of you arranged yourselves in a small circle shape, each with your little drink in hand. It almost felt like being a kid in kindergarten again. Elizabeth lifted her cup out of the center of the group. Cup out over the center of the group. To this auspicious occasion, cheers to us. As sarcastic as her tone was, the fun she was having was genuine. Cheers to us, happy Father's Day, bad Father's Day, you tease, happy other Mother's Day. Cheers! He thrusted his own drink out in celebration before bringing it back towards his chest. He twisted off the cap of the water bottle and gulped down about half of it in one go. Derek idly... How big is our refrigerator? I'm sorry, I'm like... We have that many juice choices to choose from, and then we have food in there also. We must have a big-ass industrial fridge. That's all I got. I just know my thoughts. Those are my thoughts, okay? Like, I'm thinking about that right now. Like, how much room do we have in there? Derek idly wiped his mouth when Elizabeth asked a flat question. How did you actually get here? Is Mrs. Suarez idling in her minivan out there? Derek's reply was perfectly cheery. After the long way there, his spark was finally coming back. We took a bus. A bus? And a shuttle. None of the buses go right into Sunsetbird, but we made it. Well, obviously, you can see that. Okay, another question. Are you gonna be completely grounded for this? I left a note from my mom. She'll understand. This was an emergency. Or it could have been one. Huh? You're welcome. We were on a mission. Felt incredibly bashful. It's worth it no matter what happens. She simply shrugged. You're welcome. Elizabeth rested her eyes shut and took another long sip of juice. How much juice you got in that cup? What kind of cup did you get? Was it like a glass, an actual glass? How big was this glass? You know, I have so many questions. I don't need to ask these questions. I won't tell our moms. Thanks. We're all partners in crime. We should go now. You want to hang for... Let's make Father's Day cards. What? We can still celebrate the holiday. I want to make our moms a card. I want to make our moms and Mr. Suarez a card. Let's make our moms and Mr. Suarez a card. That's a great idea, Kingsley.
Yeah.
I'll do it. The three of you ran around the house, gathering supplies and dumping them on the living room floor. Stickers, markers, and stacks of construction paper were littered all around you. You added decorations and a message for your special Father's Day cards. Elizabeth wrote a note in cursive, and Derek added a smiley face. You really felt like a kid again. It was nice. It was a nice time, and it was also in 2 lovely homemade cards. When you were really finished, Elizabeth spoke up. All right, you've got to go. She stretched her arms and she stretched her legs and arms, spreading out wide. Being bored all day is gonna be the least of our worries if moms come in and you magically appeared in the living room. Right. Instead, you gotta magically vanish into thin air. She snatched up the cards for your moms and waved in her hand. I'll make sure they get this after you come home for real. They'll never know you were here. And I'll leave delivering this card to you. She slid the one for Mr. Suarez across the floor towards you. Her eyes narrowed, looking between you and Derek. Enjoy what's left of your little sleepover. Derek's mouth dropped open fruitlessly, then closed it again. You're completely right. Our whole sleepover, we didn't do one single thing you had mentioned. I'm hungry now. I was thinking we were gonna go out and eat. No. No. He didn't know what to tell. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say to that. Finally, he waved and chirped out a generic farewell. Bye, Elizabeth. Bye, see you around. Oh yeah, we will. See you around. Let's give her a hug. Let's touch her. Oh, that sounds wrong. Elizabeth rolled her eyes in staged annoyance. She couldn't take the smile off her face, and she ultimately returned the gesture, wrapping her arms around your neck. Weren't you a little shit to her, though, in the beginning? Aw, that was such a sweet bye. Bye. With your mission accomplished, the two of you returned to the wide open world. Returning to the parking lot was a far more leisurely trip than your arrival had been. There was time before it take off again. You drifted ahead like the lazy white clouds above you. The fluffiness of them made you think of marshmallows. The pale orange 12-seater came into sight, parked at the far edge of the lot. You and Derek got your tickets to ride and hopped on. Where the fuck did we get these tickets from? There's not a single bus station. A few scattered tourists in their sun hats and floral patterned shorts were seated throughout the cabin. Be for real. The small number of people in the space still felt cramped because of the limited room in the car. You could smell their sunscreen in the air. In a slow curving motion, the shuttle pulled out. Derek sat rigidly, silently tapping his pointer fingers against the top of his knees for the entire trip. No words were exchanged by anyone except a few rules and updates mumbled out by the driver. People were tired from their own long adventures out in the world. You could only imagine what the strangers sharing the shuttle had been through, while barely audible acoustic guitar tracks played on the radio. Eventually, the shuttle arrived. Each person went their separate ways, except for you and Derek, who stayed by one another's side as a pair. He navigated the station with the maps he had kept tucked in his back pocket as a guide. And finally, he sat down in the deep blue, well-worn fabric of a city bus seat for the last ride. We didn't eat a single thing today. We just had drink. When the bus pulled out this time, Derek wiped his brow with his wristband. You made it back to Derek City. No mortifying calls would have to be made from an overpriced bus stop pay phone to beg one of your parents to come get you. Derek slipped lower into Derek slipped lower in his seat and stretched his legs out in the aisle. The bus wasn't even half full, so making a little extra room for himself wasn't getting in anyone's way this time. On the outside, the sun was still dipped under the horizon, giving the air relief from its sweltering heat. It all came together to make the metal tube of public transportation less suffocating, totally incomparable to the experience you had at the start of the afternoon. Now it was safe to relax. Good job, us. You chirped with a mixture of relief and fulfillment, like you just had an 8-hour shift at a serious adult company. We did. The bus is a serious adult company. We're victorious people. Thank you for helping me, Derek. I really appreciate all this, you know. It means a lot to me that you're here. This was the best Father's Day I've ever had. Thanks. I really appreciate all this, you know. Derek made a big show of swatting his hand nonchalantly, which pretty much completely precluded it from being a casual gesture. Again, his face couldn't even pretend to be unaffected. He was thrilled. No worries, Kingsley. Siblings look out for siblings. Don't say that to me. No. I mean, yeah, he said, but like, no. And he looked directly at you. Friends look out for friends. I know that I can count on you to help me out with bros when I need it. We're a good team. I'm right here for you too. Oh, I can always rely on you. Thanks for holding my hand before. You smiled at him, but actually stared at his hands. Right, I'm here for you too. Yeah, you're my guy. Oh, and you're my guy. You rested your head against Derek. Oh, you put your arm on Derek's shoulders. Derek leaned against your shoulder. You relaxed into the back seat. Lean against him. Gently, you shifted over to let the side of your face nestle against your seat neighbor. Derek's eyes fluttered closed with a sweet sigh. You snuggled in for the final leg of the journey, and all you had to do was wait. There was a soft vibration in the back of the bus. It slowly went up to your spine and all the way down to the tips of your toes. During the ride before, the sensation had frayed at your nerves. Now it was soothing. With every stop that passed, your eyelids grew heavier. If yours wasn't just the fourth one down the line, you might have fallen asleep. You and Derek were the only ones who got off at that point. The two of you hopped from the front door of the bus onto the sidewalk. Derek leisurely retraced the familiar path you had gone on with him, matching step for step. It was peaceful, and with how close you had been to dozing off, it almost felt like walking through a dream. Finally, you arrived at the Suarez condo after a long, eventful afternoon away. You may not have lived there, but seeing that door made you feel welcomed and safe. Derek clicked his key into the slot and pulled the handle forward. All traces of sleepiness that had lingered in your eyes were instantly wiped away. Derek unavoidably tripped the wire on a mini explosion. Oh wow, okay. The condo wasn't nearly as empty as it was when you left. The whole rest of the family had arrived before you. They were gathered together on the couch and bar stools, except for Nicholas, who had jumped to his feet to launch himself at his brother. His short arms circled around Derek's legs. Derek does not seem like he's that tall. Is Nicholas just very short for a 6-year-old? Like, how is this working? It was an interaction that had happened dozens, maybe even hundreds of times before. That was a hallmark of their own unique their own unique sibling relationship. Derek fulfilled his part of the tradition and stroked Nico's hair. Nicholas's hair. I mean, Nico, yeah. At the same time, he offered the rest of his family a laid-back greeting. Hey.
Good evening.
Good evening to you both. I'm sorry, I'm trying. Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome back. There was a knowing lit in her tone and a crook in her smile. Did you have a good trip? Clutched securely between her fingers was a piece of paper. You didn't have to think too hard to guess what it was. The note you got left explaining what happened.
Hey,
Yes, so did Dad. It's best you were able to spend time with your family. His parents were both perfectly contented. He had their full support for going on an adventure. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. It was good. Derek gratefully replied to his parents, all the while sneaking a warm gaze at you. Agreed. Thanks for not grounding Derek. I'm not gonna say that. I'm glad I got to see Elizabeth. Are you gonna tell my moms about this? I do want to know. That's a good question. Did your mom forbid you from using the bus without supervision? Derek normally can't go that far, but I'll allow it this time. It is a holiday. I don't know. There's not something we really had to talk about. Most things were walking distance in my town. Then I'll leave it to you and yours to work it out. Okay, then no one's telling anyone anything. Mick was simply held tight to Derek's jeans the entire time, happy he was there and totally unaware of what the older people were talking about. Jorge stood between his parents with his arms pressed to his sides. He had been listening with amusement, his thin eyebrows pinched and his lips pursed. Now what's a great question. Derek leaned over, putting all his weight on one foot and covering the opposite side of his mouth with a hand. He spoke softly enough that no one else heard. It was obvious to everyone that he was giving you a secret message. You still got the card. You should give it to Dad. He was right. You were there. It was Father's Day. There couldn't be a better time. You shifted your stance to face right at Mr. Suarez. Carefully, you reached into your pants pocket. Oh, I'm wearing pants. Okay. Good to know. Thank you for being nice to me, Mr. Suarez. Happy Father's Day. I made this. I hope it's alright that I put something together for today. You quietly took it out. I hope it's alright that I put this together. This is for you. You played your card, going all in, holding it in front of Mr. Suarez's face. Derek's eye perked up instantly. There was a childish joy in his face that matched perfectly with the kind that Derek himself often showed. For me? You got it.
thank you.
Thank you, Kingsley. He lifted an open hand. Mr. Suarez waited for you to give the card instead of him taking it from you. You placed it in his palm. Mrs. Suarez rubbed her husband's back, partially for encouragement and partially as an excuse to peek over his shoulder so she could read the card too. I feel bad and give Mrs. Suarez a card. Both of them took the time to view all the writing and decorations you'd gone through the effort of adding. This is a very thoughtful gesture. The way he spoke to you was so kind and generous. You sort of felt like you were the one receiving the gift. We're very lucky to have you over today. It's the ideal addition to every occasion. You're welcome. Thank you. Happy Father's Day. I'm the lucky one that got to be here. I'm the lucky one. Derek's parents nuzzled together sweetly. His mom wrapped both her arms around his, and his dad tipped his head against his wife while holding the card close to his chest. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught a glimpse of Derek throwing his hands up in a cheering gesture. You celebrated your success as dramatically as he did silently. You've done a good job. You were on top of the world, even if it was in a small way. You got to have Father's Day with Mr. Suarez and the rest of the family. From a totally normal evening to a living room camped out to a grand commute home, to being accepted that way by the Suarez family, all without warning, it was enough to leave you breathless. Mrs. Suarez snickered cheekily, resting her actual cheek against Mr. Suarez. Well, I'm sorry to say, you better turn right around and go the way you came. It's time to bring Kingsley back. But don't worry, I'll drive. Oh yeah. With a wink and a grin, Derek scratched the back of his head. He chuckled right along with his This episode was titled Siblings, and yet there wasn't really that many sibling thingies happening. You had a great time staying with the Suarez family, but you were very much looking forward to seeing your moms and being reunited with your own sibling after a humorously short time apart. There would be plenty more moments of fun and laughter to come when you were. Thanks to Derek, it was truly an occasion worth commemorating. Wow, that was long as fuck. I'm gonna save. I am gonna save. That was so long. Boardwalk is the last DLC that we have for this thing. I don't know if we'll finish it. We're already like almost 2 hours in. Like, that was a long ass DLC. It's 4:20 right now. Gil gets home at like 5:15, 5:30. It's a Friday. Let me see if he messaged me actually. Let me see. No, he hasn't, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I'm just gonna try to go through this fast. It was early morning, but the day was already buzzing with excitement. Your whole family was gathered together with all five Suarez's in their cozy living room. Today, you were all making a trip out to the boardwalk set park. It was a regular enough outing for Derek's family, but it would be your first time going. The boardwalk was a few hours away, and it was even further when setting out from Sunset Bird. That's why the adults decided on the meetup here at the Suarez's apartment instead of gathering at the boardwalk itself. It gave your moms a little break from driving, and everyone got their last chance to run to the bathroom. You would be leaving very soon. While you waited for the trip to officially start, you sat on the couch with your hands in your lap. For a few minutes now, you tried to keep track of what the group gathered around the kitchen counter were up to. I think, like, I've started it, yeah, but, I might have to save the next story. Like, we might have to come back to this. Elizabeth, your moms, and Mrs. Suarez were all busily making preparations from what you could tell. Meanwhile, Mr. Suarez had his hands full, rounding up his two youngest sons. I want a Pop-Tart now. It seemed that they were taking an anti-shoes dance that morning, and in Nicholas's case, he needed to be talked into wearing a shirt, too. On the cushion next to you, Derek was pumped for what the boardwalk had to offer. He was rambling a mile a minute about all the fun stuff he couldn't wait to show you. You were excited about it, you were nervous about a busy day, you were simply happy because Derek was happy. I'm happy because Derek's happy. His animated and colorful descriptions and stories about the boardwalk had you grinning ear to ear. You could have easily spent all day listening to him like this. This journey was also the first time your and Derek's families were doing a big activity together. You couldn't believe it originally when the adults went through with organizing the trip. We have not. I feel bad for not spending time with Cove, but this isn't about Cove. Kids, come join us in the kitchen. It's time to pack your treat bags. Ooh, cool. Treat bags? What treat bags? Okay. Sliding off the couch, you didn't have the faintest idea what Mrs. Suarez meant, but you were summoned in, so you followed Derek's lead. He turned to say something over his shoulder. He'd guessed that line might have been confusing to a newcomer. Is Elizabeth here? Did they say she was here? I can't remember. The snack bags are what we do for larger trips. Me and my brothers and you and Elizabeth too. We get to fill a little plastic baggie with any sweets and stuff we want. Oh, that's nice. I want cookies now. It's supposed to be for eating during the hours-long drive, but no one really cares when we snack. It's just so we have something if we need it. Lucky. That's the coolest idea. I think so too. It's great to have on hand. As you reach the kitchen, Elizabeth breezed past you with your moms following at a more relaxed pace. Derek raised a skeptical brow and pointed in her direction with his thumb. Doesn't she want a bag? Elizabeth stopped and spun around on her heel. Surprised, Derek pulled his hand back to his side. Elizabeth's lips curled into an all-too-pleased smirk. You heard Mrs. Suarez. She called for the kids to come. Ma shook her head at Elizabeth's taunting display. Your sister stepped forward and held up a zip bag that you hadn't noticed before. I already got mine while you were getting things set up for the rest of you. The bag was full of dried fruits and chocolate chips. Oh, ow. Ow. I'm just scratched the back of my leg. Okay. That's very interesting. I hit a nerve scratching the back of my leg and it hurt my ankle. No, not ankle, the heel of my foot. That's so weird. I don't like that. Ow. She teasingly dangled it in your face and then in Derek's. Very mature, Elizabeth. You're not one of the kids at all. You stuck out your tongue, you shook your head, you rolled your eyes, you just stare at her. Just make her uncomfy. It didn't take Elizabeth long to realize that she wasn't going to get a rise out of you. She pouted and withdrew her treat bag. After that, she left the kitchen and plopped down in your old spot on the couch. Your moms joined her, putting Elizabeth in the middle. Ma comfortingly patted Elizabeth's leg. Glancing back towards the kitchen, Jorge and Nicholas were finally dressed and they dashed ahead of you. They excitedly crowded around their mom's legs. Now don't forget the bag actually has to be able to close for it to count. She began passing out baggies to her two youngest, and then Mrs. Suarez turned to you and winked. That's my one rule for the treat bags, but other than that, feel free to go crazy. Nicholas and Jorge took as their cue to rush up to the counter lined with tasty options and started stuffing their bags. Mr. Suarez handed you and Derek your own plastic baggies. Now that it was in your hand, you realized it was the smallest zip. It was the smallest zip bag size. That's really not true. The smallest zip bag size is a dime bag. So be for real about it. There was no way that you were going to get a little bit of everything. I don't need a little bit of everything. From my experience, you can fit about 4 handfuls of stuff before it starts to get too tough to close. Answer before I can even ask. Thanks, mind reader. The younger boys swiftly finished selecting their road trip treats. Jorge's bag closed easily while Nicholas's was proving a challenge to squeeze shut. The plastic was ballooned out of the sides, entirely full of cookies and candy. Ugh. Nicholas is mean. His brow pinched as he struggled with the zip. To everyone's surprise, Nicholas got it to seal, and he proudly held the bag up for his mom's inspection. Impressed, she nodded. Don't forget to take a water bottle too. We don't want to lose anyone to dehydration today. The two boys held their prizes tightly and grabbed their water bottles off the edge of the counter on their way out of the kitchen. It was your turn now to buff at the buffet, and the spread was delicious. Was it delicious? Okay, I want fruit gummy candies. Do I want shortbread cookies or do I want sandwich cookies? I want shortbread cookies. I want sandwich cookies. Can I get dried apples? No! I want chocolate chips too! No! You know what? Fine, I'll take it. Oh, chair. Be careful now. Enjoy. I should have listened to you, Derek. I'm sorry. I thought I love baby. Humming happily, you ran your hand across the side of the plastic baggie. You were grateful for your haul and proudly showed it to Derek. He gave you a thumbs up. Variety is the spice of life. He closed his bag and you realized that it was completely full of a bunch of different things too. Chuckling, you gently poked the straining side of his plastic baggie. Yes, it is. Derek leaned across the counter for the water bottles. He slid one over for you to take and grabbed one for himself too. Okay, we'll close up the packs then. We can leave this out here for now. We don't have any more time to lose. Are we all ready? Several voices called back, answering yes. Mr. Suarez raised an eyebrow and walked out of the kitchen. No one needs to go potty? No. I don't have to go potty.
Good.
Anyone have questions before we go? Yeah, what the fuck are we doing again? She put her hands on her hips and glanced around the apartment. Mr. Suarez raised his hand just as he caught her eye. I'd like to know how we will arrange the rides. There's room for 5 in the back of our car, and room for 3 in the Rigel car.
What do you think?
There is room to switch who is bringing who, if there's a one for it. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Elizabeth and Kingsley are welcome to ride with us, or Derek can feel free to go with Pamela and Alani. Nicholas and Jorge are staying in our van, though. Oh, that's so sad. Let's switch Elizabeth and Jorge out. We'll switch siblings. Frustrated, both smaller boys pouted at their exclusion. Jorge's jaw clenched as he crossed his arms. I'm not a baby. Why do I have to stay in the van? I'm not a baby. Nicholas, you know you still need a booster seat. We can't put that in their car. Mr. Suarez chuckled at Nicholas's angry grumbling as he passed by into the kitchen. Aiming to pick up the remaining snacks, Mr. Suarez sighed with a tickled, but still a long-suffering way. Dad and I need you there to stay awake for a long drive. Can you two please keep us company on the car ride? Releasing a deep breath, Jorge nodded. But he knew this wasn't the day his mom was going to relent. Nicholas, on the other hand, continued to pout. Okay, Mom. Well, what do you think, Lilani? Lilani? Her name, that did not say Lilani, that said Lilani. Either way is fine with me. It's up to the kids to decide which they'd prefer. I'll stick with Mom's. She then curiously shifted her attention to you, the corner of her mouth pulled into a smirk because she knew that you and your friend were the ones that whole decision was for. Derek leaned in close to you, cupping a hand to the side of his mouth so only you could hear him. Kingsley, what are you thinking? It makes sense for everyone to ride with their parents. I want to ride with the Suarezes. Derek can ride with us. Well, if he's alright with that. What are you thinking? You weren't sure. Derek, ride with us. I'm not dealing with Nicholas right now, okay? Your mom's reassuring nods gave you the confidence to find out what Derek thought about your bold statement. His skin seemed a shade pinker, but he scratched the back of his neck and beamed. That'd be awesome. There's a light falter as Nicholas darted across the room. Silently stared with big sad eyes. Sorry, Nico. We'll be back together at the boardwalk real soon. I promise. Promise. Derek patted the top of his brother's head and the boys sighed. There was still a sourness clinging to his expression, but he didn't seem as defeated anymore. Okay, now that that's settled, we'll see you there. Oh, hold on. One last thing. Mrs. Suarez went over to their moms and quickly went into some last-minute advice on the directions. While you waited, you noticed out of the corner of your eye that Mr. Suarez had moved on from nibbling at the snacks. Instead, you caught him passing Jorge and Nicholas an extra cookie each. Genuine cheer came from both of their expressions. Aw, that's cute. They were so thrilled about the secret cookies that Nicholas's bitterness over the car ride and Jorge's frustration over being babied were both sweetened out. And that was that. Snack and drinks were set, no one needed to go potty, and the rides were arranged, directions were obtained, and it was finally time to get the trip started. The two families left the condo behind, chattering with eagerness for the day's activities. At the parking lot, the group split up to get into their different cars. Where do you think this episode's going to end? Do you think it's going to end at the actual boardwalk, or do you think it's going to end after the car ride's done, coming back from the boardwalk? Just a little speculation. This is going to be fun! Elizabeth automatically went to claim her usual seat, but you stopped her. She pouted but climbed back out and impatiently tapped her foot on the ground. What? Did you forget we have company? On autopilot, Ma slid behind the steering wheel with ease, and Mom hopped into the front seat. It wasn't until they were both buckled in that they both realized the backseat was oddly still empty. What's the holdup? We had to decide the seats.
No worries.
Don't worry, the middle is calling my name. I'm the third wheel anyways. Oh, Derek. Chewing at your bottle lip, there wasn't any more time left to lose, so you didn't try to argue with him. Elizabeth happily climbed into the car and took her usual spot. And this worked out perfectly. Derek settled into his chosen spot and sat up perfectly straight. You climbed in after him, appreciative that you and your sister ended up in your usual places at opposite ends of the car. Are we all ready now? We're buckled. Roger that. We'll have you all free and having fun in no time. I want hash browns now. Thanks for letting me join in for the ride.
Aww.
Oh, there's no trouble at all. We'd love to have you as a guest. The second Mom was done pulling the car out, a wide grin hooked her lips. Excitedly, she shimmied her shoulders as she drove. I read about our destination recently, and it sounded just lovely. I'm so happy we're doing this today. That's an understatement if I've ever heard one. Lonnie studied up on this place like it was her job. Mom teasingly twisted to deliver that last part to the three of you in the back directly. Giggling, Ma shrugged. Can you blame me? I don't want to miss anything.
I get it.
I understand that. There's just so much stuff to see and do. It's all packed into that one place. That's impressive. It'll be a good day then. Well, I don't want any spoilers. I want to see what's there when we get there. Alright, Elizabeth, I won't say a thing. Does anyone want music? Depends on whose turn it is to pick. How about we let Derek have a turn? Oh, that's nice of you, Mrs. Rigel. Elizabeth gasped in surprise when Derek awkwardly fiddled with his fingers in his lap. She childishly stuck her tongue out, but he wasn't bothered by her antics at all. Derek shrugged it off and thought hard about how he should answer. He wasn't going to squander this opportunity. After a few minutes of consideration, Derek snuck a glance in your direction. You tilted your head to the side, silently asking him what he was thinking. Some alternative? Okay. She turned the radio on and clicked around until she found a station that played alternative style music. You nodded, approving of his choice. Hey, I thought this was Derek's choice, not Kingsley's. Sorry, Elizabeth, but I ruled that it's allowed. Picking something for someone else is perfectly fine in my book. Oh, you picked it for me? That's so sweet. Fine. The headphones are bothering me. I need you to stop. Elizabeth frowned and shifted her focus to something out of the window and pressed her back against the seat. Sorry about her. A tiny amused smile tugged at the corner of Derek's mouth, and then a laugh escaped him. He tried to hide it with the palm of his hand, but it was too late. She takes not getting her way just like Jorge does. Nicholas would have started yelling by now. Before you could wonder if Elizabeth was even still listening, she rolled her eyes on cue. But surprisingly, she kept her lips sealed shut this time. Elizabeth then pulled out her baggie of snacks and popped a few cranberries into her mouth. Wait, there were cranberries? I like cranberries. I like dried cranberries. She grabbed another handful to nibble at while you thought about your own baggie. Of course I'm gonna have some snacks too. Well, it's like not having snacks. All it took was one look at your stomach. Felt envious. You pulled your zip bag out and decided to treat yourself to a handful or two. You noticed that Derek didn't touch his zip bag snacks at all. He continued to twiddle his fingers and sit quietly. The rest of the ride went by with your moms filling the time chatting about current events while Elizabeth just stared out the window, and all the while the music played on. Both families pulled into the parking lot and kids excitedly bounced out of the cars. The parents cheerfully waved at each other as the groups closed the distance between them. He just loves his big brother. It's kind of cute. Next to you, Derek braced for impact as his younger brother bolted straight ahead, aiming right for him, over the moon to be reunited. Nicholas tightly wrapped himself around his big brother. Hey, I miss you too. Miss you. Derek managed to untangle his sibling's limbs enough so he could bend down and give Nicholas a hug. The 6-year-old eventually released his legs in full so they could walk hand in hand back to their family. With everyone regrouped, the family strolled into the boardwalk. Your eyes widened. The place was even more amazing than you'd imagined. Ooh, this is nice. It was like you stepped into a bright world of color. There were shops displaying various beach towels and boogie boards decorated with either popular cartoon characters or tropical flowers. Clothing stalls had racked up sundresses, cover-ups, and swimwear in every pattern imaginable. Ahead, you could make out the colorful tufts of stuffed animals from prized boards. Darts, ring toss, skee ball, and more awaited further down the boardwalk. Music filled the air, but when you listened closely, you could make out so much more. There were various cheers and shouts of victory, joy, and fear. The screams had to be coming from the massive wooden roller coaster that towered beyond the stalls. If Derek wants to go on that, he can go on that. I will wait for him. I don't do roller coasters. I don't. From what you could tell already, this boardwalk was easily 5 times the size of an entire shopping street in Sunset Bird. You loved it. You still preferred your own town's shoreside tourist trap. You suddenly felt uncomfortable. You were in good spirits. You didn't know what to think. I'm in good spirits. Humming happily along to the tunes, you made sure not to lose track of your group as you moved through the crowd. Now that you were seeing it for yourself, you finally understood the intensity behind Derek's descriptions. The group began navigating down the wooden boards. Mrs. Suarez hastily grabbed into Nicholas's arm for safekeeping, and just in time, too. The bustling mood of the area had Nicholas raring to go. He wanted to see, play, and explore every inch. Unfortunately, the 4 parents were just not as energetic as their hyper 6-year-old. With an affectionate shake of her head, Mrs. Suarez struggled to hold on to Nicholas's tiny hand as he attempted to sprint ahead. Irene, why not let the children go? Excuse me, you know what this 6-year-old gets snatched up by some stranger? I don't think so. Bad idea, Mr. Suarez. Huh? This child here and the rest of them, I'm sure they'd rather enjoy the park on their own at their own pace. They'd be safe with each other. That's not true. She carefully weighed the scenarios in her mind while Nicholas was too busy trying to forcibly move her forward to notice the important conversation happening. Your mom shared a glance. I'd be alright with that as long as nobody left the boardwalk. It's large, but not too large. The kids are getting older and they've earned a little freedom from our all-seeing eyes. Okay, adults and kids get to have their own day at the boardwalk. You caught both Elizabeth and Derek parking up. This was clearly a sign of a perfect day ahead for the two. And then Mrs. Suarez passed Nicholas off to her husband for a moment. She motioned for the older kids to circle closer to her. No more treats for Nicholas. He's had enough candy and cookies for the day. I'm counting on you to keep to that. Mr. Suarez over there can't be trusted. Oops. He stood up straighter and looked away from his wife, pretending that he had no idea what she was talking about. Her knowing smile cracked into a light-hearted laugh. You admire the way her eyes sparkled. Teasing her husband, she moved her attention back to the rest of you. And both Jorge and Elizabeth gave her confident nods. You got this, Mom. Derek answered with an added thumbs up. Mrs. Suarez proudly beamed, letting her gaze go between her boys. No need to worry. You can count on us. Oh, speaking of getting things, I have some money on hand for me and my brothers. Will you and Elizabeth be able to buy ride tickets and knickknacks and stuff? Or any of that stuff? I doubt the pocket change I have is going to be enough for anything. I remembered my wallet. Well, I got a nickel. No. You calmly put your hands on your hips. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. Good for you. Don't worry about it. We were gonna spend money on you two today anyway, so there's no harm if we let you have it. Besides, we don't get to go on trips like this every day. Go a little while. Exactly. We want you to be able to do things here. Mom dug into her purse and she pulled out a handful of bills. She carefully counted out $15 and handed it to Elizabeth. Your sister was unimpressed at the moment and recounted the bills herself. Mom handed you your own $15 next and you quietly chuckled to yourself. You couldn't help but think about how it probably would have been a 20 if Mr. Holden was there. Stop. It's not about Cove, this is about Derek. Thanks, I'll use this wisely. Thanks, Moms. We're all set then? We'll meet again here at 8 p.m. in front of this very stall. His first stall, that's what she said. Mrs. Juarez took her youngest arm and crouched down to his level. She brushed some stray hairs out of his face. Go and stay with your brothers today. Be good for them. With an eager nod, Nicholas folded over to Derek and clung into his jeans. Derek laughed at the sudden weight and put his hands firmly on his younger brother's shoulders just in case he decided to run off. The two sets of parents disappeared into the crowd, moving towards the nearby stores. Standing on your tiptoes, you caught your moms, waving goodbye one last time before you were completely out of sight. Elizabeth spun in a circle, spotting all the things she might want to try. She must have deemed the boardwalk to be cool because she was cheerier by the second. Eventually, her gaze returned to you and the Suarez brothers, and it was clear that her daydreams crashed back to reality. Next to her, Jorge rocked up to his tiptoes and then back down. No, Jorge. Catching your eye, he stopped and nervously inched a little closer to Derek. It must feel awkward for a little kid to have two new additions to what was usually a special family affair. You offered him a smile, but tried not to stare at him. You were so eager to get going already. The clock was ticking and you didn't want to miss a single activity. Derek awkwardly took a couple large steps forward. His strides were wobbly as Nicholas held onto him tighter, but Derek was ultimately unfazed. Okay, we should start the day right. The face painting stall is up here near the front. Face painting! Jorge brightened with the notion and Nicholas. Well, I don't know why. I guess because Derek and Nicholas, their names combined for me. And Nicholas shook Derek as hard as he could without shaking himself off. Derek's grin widened as he laughed at his brother's delight. Yeah, let's go! Face painting? Are you serious? Nicholas was too absorbed with thoughts of paint to notice her attitude, but Jorge's joy vanished instantly. Elizabeth, don't be a fucking hater. Please, not now. You could pinpoint the exact sound Elizabeth remembered how much younger Derek's siblings were. Elizabeth uncrossed her arms, feeling a bit rotten. She cleared her throat and begrudgingly tried to pull back on her visible distaste. I don't need one, however. Of course we can go over to the stall. Anyone who wants to do it should. That's great, honestly. There's lots of times to do tons of things, so it's not a big deal if sometimes it isn't what you want to do, right? His green stare hardened. He directed the statement at both the youngest and the oldest member in the crew. Elizabeth snorted, displeased that a kid like Derek was acting like he was in charge. Well, he is. But Derek wasn't in his respectful guest mode, which is what Elizabeth usually saw of him in the neighborhood. Derek was entirely in his eldest brother role. He had the stern stare on her for another moment before shifting to you. Are you alright with letting my brothers get their faces painted? You can too if you wanna. It's actually a lot of fun. I wanna get my face painted too. Let's do it. Nicholas victoriously bounced, knocking against Derek. You even caught a smile growing back on Jorge's face. Before anyone moved, Derek carefully removed Nicholas's hands from his pants and took a hold of the young boy's hand instead, like his mom had done before. Derek cheerfully pointed ahead with his free hand. Derek led the way for your group. You followed his line of sight to the robe shops and spotted a large, colorful umbrella. As you approached, you noticed two open chairs under the shade of that umbrella, one for the artist and the other for the person being painted. Next to it was a canvas posted with a collage of photos. The example showed off cheeks dotted with daisies, sparkling gold stars shooting over temples, peace signs, and a whole row of butterflies. Ew, gross, yucky. Skulls and spiders were options for kids who wanted to get their face painted and still look tough. Someone like Cove, you thought to yourself, chuckling. I mean, at least we had a Cove mention. It's not about Cove, but this is Cove's game. Of course, that was only a joke. You were positive Cove would actually get a fish or a shell or a dolphin or something like that. Cove 100% would get a dolphin. You peeked at the painting tools in the mirror on the wheeled counter. The artist appeared to be a teen just out of high school or maybe in college. Many of the stalls you passed had younger people running them. The artist eyed your group carefully in return. Hello. Hi, welcome. I'm Xavier. Would you like me to paint your face today? Sorry, are you a character, Xavier? Do I remember you? Why does his name seem familiar? Xavier. Guess I won't know. Yes, please. Xavier went over, plopped down on one of the chairs. Derek nudged Jorge towards the other. Do you want to go first? Jorge hesitated and chewed up his bottom lip, but he wasn't sure until he realized that no one else moved to take the open seat. He seized the opportunity and sat down. What can I do for you? I want football, right here. Without missing a beat, Jorge pointed to his forehead. Jorge is so precious. Elizabeth huffed quietly at the conversation, but Xavier gave a serious nod. I can do that, no problem. The artist lightly brushed Jorge's bangs aside and began to work. Next to you, excuse me, Derek's brow furrowed intently as he studied the picture of a collage of options. I don't think you could possibly think any harder without breaking your brain. What's the problem? But Derek continued to quietly mull things over. He pressed a hand to his chin and sighed. Nicholas will get what I get. I'm not sure what to get because of that. He doesn't like soccer as much as Jorge likes football, so that's probably not the best choice. I could get a car for obvious reasons, but Nicholas also really loves rainbows. He does already have cars on his shirt. Just get the car, you can't lose with that. It's sweet that he loves rainbows, let him have one. You get a spider, Nicholas can pretend it's real and scare people. I hate that option. Let's get the rainbows. Chuckling, Derek shook his head at your enthusiasm. He raised his hands in surrender. I'll get a rainbow. That's so cute. No. I was not expecting the football to be like right down in the center. I was expecting it to be like hot dog style. That's fair, no. Or his football didn't take. Oh god, sorry. Or his football didn't take long to finish at all. He got up with a delighted grin and tried to tip his head enough to see the painting without a mirror. He couldn't, but that didn't put a damper on his fun. One of his hands hovered above the football and you knew he was fighting the urge to poke at the wet paint. Girl, same. Derek slid onto the customer chair next. Nicholas leaned his hands on the edge of the seat and intensely watched the artist get to work. As the painting took shape, the smile on Nicholas's face grew. He gasped loudly in amazement the second he finally figured it out. The artist proudly added the finishing touches, and then addressed the youngest Juarez instead. Xavier twirled their paintbrush. Now, what do you think? It's awesome! Just what I like to hear. You're good to go then. Thank you. Derek took one last glance at himself in the mirror and hopped off the chair. He pointed at the open seat with his thumb. Your turn, Nico. Nicholas clambered onto the chair with a pinched brow. Once he got settled, he sat up tall like a big boy. Hello, what can I do for you today? A rainbow! Xavier's gaze instinctively went back to the piece they just finished on Derek. They immediately put together what was happening. That's a great idea. Let's get started. Nicholas nodded and then put all of his mental energy into holding still. You weren't sure how long the 6-year-old could keep that up before he started to squirm. Though it was fun to watch Nicholas, you knew that your focus was better spent deciding on what design you actually were getting. You were next, so you gave the canvas another look. You picked out the, ooh, I can get a heart? Smiley face, car, spider, peace sign, alien face. Cheek, whiskers, and a painted nose. Okay. Yes. Let's get a shooting star. It can be a cat another day. Any other day. Again, Xavier made a quick work painting and Nicholas was soon jumping out of his chair with a brand new rainbow adorning his cheek. He walked over and took his place in the chair. Can I get one too? Of course. The three brothers huddled together Off to the side, proudly admiring and showing off each other's face paintings. Elizabeth crossed her arms, spotting you in the chair next. Girl, don't be a hater. Don't be a hater, girl. She'd been quietly hanging around the stalls, attempting not to be too impatient. You were the last one left to go. I can start when you're ready. Right. You shifted your attention away from the group and instead stared directly into the artist's face. You liked their pink hair. Ooh. Pink hair. It was pulled back and tucked under a uniform hat. And from this distance, you realized their eyes were more purplish than brown color they looked when further away. So, what can I do for you? I want to get a shooting star. I can work with that. Artist dipped a clean brush into their starting color, and then they reached for it to begin drawing on your cheek. The paint felt cooler than you imagined. Trying not to move too much, the bristles lightly tickled as they glided across your skin. Stroke by stroke, Xavier started with the outer lines and then filled in the center of the drawing. And before you knew it, it was over. You eagerly checked yourself in the mirror on the counter and beamed. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You got up and rejoined the others. There was a delighted pep in your step as you pointed to the final result. Now, hold on. I think I'm remembering Xavier. I think I remember Xavier from the wedding we had with Cove when we were planning it. Was that Xavier? I could be wrong. If you were there for that stream or you're watching this back on YouTube, tell me in the comments below because I don't fucking remember. I'm thinking it could be him, or I think him. Yeah. They? Who's to say? I can't remember. Nice choice. Now that you and the Suarez brothers were happy with all your face paintings, it was time to discover the next activity. Derek quickly paid for him and his brothers. You dug out some of your own money too, and then it was time to go. Have a good day. You too, Xavier. Your group gave one final round of thank yous to Xavier before moving from the stall. The flow of the crowd brought you all drifting down the boardwalk. As you traveled further in, you actually spotted your parents. The Suarez boys jumped and waved, and their dad did exactly the same thing across the way. That's so cute. Next to him, Mrs. Suarez, hiding her ear-to-ear grin with her hands. Your moms had their heads close together, laughing at Mr. Suarez's reaction. You shouted, you jumped in and waved. I'm gonna wave quietly. All the commotion had you blushing, and the comparison to the Suarez family, you were shyly waving. You simply hoped that your moms could find you amongst the crowd. Knowing that you and Elizabeth had to be close by, your mom scanned over the unfamiliar people until they found you. You both waved back cheerfully. Then your parents continued on their own adventure. Your group traveled further down the boardwalk. You browsed the long rows of shops, pointing out all the interesting things on sale. As the afternoon stretched on, your gang continued to enjoy the boardwalk. Elizabeth took long strides and led the pack, cutting her way through the crowd. Everyone was willing to follow her. The Suarez brothers were giving her some leeway since it was her first time there, and they were used to your older sister's attitude. Should I be, though? She was making a beeline for the roller coaster, the singular big kid ride of the boardwalk, and nothing was going to stand in her way. You kept up with Elizabeth and walked alongside her. Fuck Elizabeth. You hung back with Derek and Nicholas and Jorge. I sure am. Elizabeth's her own person. She's a big girl. Elizabeth was finding her own, and you weren't just there for the rides. You wanted to spend time with your friend. Nicholas had stopped holding on to Derek, instead flitting around on his own. Christ. Derek continued to keep a sharp eye on him. He occasionally he occasionally pursed his lips when Nicholas was on the cusp of wandering further away than safety allowed. He watched the little boy as well. His attention wasn't nearly as single-minded as Elizabeth's. He eventually started to lag, unable to keep up with Elizabeth's breakneck pace. Nicholas tottered at the end of the group, slowing his pace, falling behind, then bracing forward to catch back up. It happened on repeat. His eyelids drooped and his head bobbed forward. Where am I getting these extra letters from? There was an expression of vacant determination on his face. It was a special kind of stubbornness only the youngest people in the society could muster. The type where the constant stopping wasn't just ignored, it flat out didn't exist in their minds. Luckily for Nicholas, he had a more self-aware big brother who could set limits for him. Hey, let's sit down for a second. What? It's a long walk, especially if you've got small legs. So, you mean for you? That's right, I do need to take a break. Derek willingly accepted Elizabeth's shot at his stature. You could guess why pretty easily based on his leading tone. If Derek wanted to rest, Nicholas would want that too. Derek scanned the area and pointed out some tables in the distance. Elizabeth glanced at the path ahead once, but didn't argue about changing course. She picked an empty table that looked to be the cleanest of the selection. Everyone took a seat with a marked preference for sitting under the shaded half. You grabbed a water bottle and took a long and refreshing drink. It remained it remained relatively cool on your tongue. Derek hefted Nicholas up on his lap. His big brother wiggled slightly until he found a comfortable position. Kingsley has the right idea. It's water time. Nicholas gave no audible response. His eyes were completely closed. However, he did accept the water Derek placed into his hands. He sipped it sluggishly. Unfortunately, Nicholas tipped the water bottle upwards until it started to spill.
Oops.
Derek snatched the bottle back and chuckled. Nicholas opened his eyes slightly, barely protrude by getting splashed. He rubbed his wet face on Derek's shirt and stayed resting against his chest. Derek patted his head. You had to admit it was cute, was it? Do I have to admit that? Elizabeth and Jorge drank their water too, side-eyeing the scene but not saying a word. Why is that so funny to me? You should drink, Derek. You followed Elizabeth and Jorge's example and silently observed Nicholas. I'm gonna mind my own fucking business. I don't care about them right now. A bug scurried across the table. He thought about pointing it out, but then it disappeared the way it came. Guess it had places to be. Jorge finished his drink with a final chug. He inclined his head towards his two brothers. Nicholas is gonna fall asleep. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth twisted the cap back on her bottle. She was ready to go. What now? Nicholas let out a small, snuffly noise, a snore. Derek looked down at his clearly sleeping little brother, but it was no issue for Derek. He brushed it off as easily as Elizabeth's insult. It's cool. I'll find her parents and they can look after Nico while he naps. Mom and Dad won't mind taking him along since he's down for the count. They're probably sitting at one of the restaurants or browsing the store or something. Elizabeth nodded, glad that it wouldn't be her problem. Jorge appeared more hesitant.
Okay.
Why are you hesitant? Do you not want to be with us, or do you want to be with your parents? He peeked at Elizabeth and then back to you. Derek smiled reassuringly and continued to pitch his plan. Oh, it's because Jorge's gonna be with us. I get it now. I get it. I get your apprehension, Jorge. Completely. Plus, Elizabeth wanted to ride the roller coaster. I would have had to sit back with Nicholas anyway, since he's too short for it. It just makes sense for you three to do that while I'm dropping off Nicholas, so go get that ride. I'll catch up later. Jorge sighed. He was being left behind thanks to Nicholas, but was placated enough to not argue with his older brother. You nodded. I'll stay with you so you two aren't alone. Can I go with you, please? You should all go find your parents together. Splitting up is a bad idea. I'll stay with you so you two aren't alone. Derek's eyes for what I request. It's just gonna be a chore, okay? I'm sorry. Fewer people doing it means more people actually having fun. Listen, I don't want to ride the roller coaster. Stop pressuring me to ride this roller coaster. You waved off his concern flippantly. Mom. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want to go with you. Derek gave you another minute to change your mind. When you didn't, he beamed brightly back at you. Alright, you're with me. Derek continued, now full of eagerness. You have 2 teams and 2 missions. Pass Nicholas over to the parents and ride the roller coaster while that's happening. Let's go get it done. Kingsley and I will meet you at the ride, so you stay there if you finish first. One drive, get out of my sight. Kingsley and I will meet you at the ride, so you can stay there if you finish first. The plan met everyone's approval. Elizabeth faced Derek. Well, thanks then. Her tone was lukewarm and could easily be mistaken as sarcastic. Derek shot you a look, not completely sure if Elizabeth was being serious or not. Listen, I don't fucking know. She's her own person. He held in the snort and discreetly nodded back at Derek, willing to play as Elizabeth's interpreter. Derek relaxed and smiled at your sister. Bye. He winked at you while Elizabeth and Jorge began to get up and ready themselves. We'll see them soon. He carefully shifted Nicholas around, from sitting on his lap to Boyd in his arms. Gently, he eased onto his feet. You dealt with your water and sprung up onto your feet. Bye, have fun, don't have too much fun without us. Elizabeth, you better take good care of Jorge. Take care of my brother. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and huffed. Don't worry, I get it. It's my job to be responsible now. Her sharp gaze fell to Jorge. He immediately straightened up, nervous. Damn, I should not have left her alone with Jorge. Derek began to speed walk, moving quickly but smoothly to not jostle his brother too much. You had to keep up a good pace to not be left behind. There was no dawdling and no distractions, despite the best attempts on the boardwalk to draw guests' attention with dazzling displays and enthusiastic employees. Derek might as well have been walking through an empty hall. You followed your friend down the line of stores and peeked into the restaurant windows, and there was no sign of the parents. Your steps started to slow down as you checked another side of the massive boardwalk. This might take longer than I thought, but it's alright. He kept upbeat as he pressed his face into yet another window, still nothing. Maybe Jorge and Elizabeth will have time to ride the roller coaster twice. Isn't like they'd be horrible for them. Though, there, his enthusiasm flagged a little. It does suck that you're stuck with this. Sorry. I didn't want to ride the roller coaster anyway. You've been planning on just waiting on the sidelines for Elizabeth to be done all along. Helping Derek was far preferable to that. Oh. You seemed intrigued, not expecting that from you. After a bit more searching, Derek spoke again. Do you like roller coasters, or are you scared of them? I am scared of them. I understand. They go fast and make my stomach lurch sometimes. I like them, but probably not as much as your sister. I didn't mind sitting out with you if Elizabeth and Jorge want to keep riding it when we get back. His response made you glad that you were friends. Aw, cute. Actually, my family really likes going to the amusement parks. We've been to this boardwalk probably more than 5 times, and we've gone other places. Some have a lot more ride options. Oh, and water parks too. He continued chatting along about his favorite water park as he searched down the boardwalk. There are slides and lazy rivers and those giant buckets that dump water on you. Not a fan of those. It's amazing, lucky. I've never been to one of those. Besides this, I've only been to those really kiddie theme parks for babies. I'm on not long as he continues. Keep telling me, babes. Keep telling me. And I like the wave pools too. The only problem is that they're usually on schedules, so you have to get over there on time. Oh, did I tell you about the one that had water cannons? He listened carefully as he recounted his past theme park excursions. He ranked them on attractions, wait time, and stuff to keep younger family members entertained. That's so cute. That's so cute. With the conversation light, you both laughed and smiled as you walked. Wait! He stopped in his tracks. Nicholas lightly thumped against his chest at the sudden loss of momentum. Derek readjusted him, and luckily Nicholas stayed asleep. I totally forgot we were supposed to be finding our parents. I wasn't even looking anywhere. He shook his head to refocus. We lost the plot. Hold on, sorry, that's supposed to be. We lost the plot. I guess it's time to get back to it. With that reminder, you both continued searching. Sleeping Beauty occasionally let out a snore, but other than that, Nicholas didn't contribute to the quest. You wandered all around the boardwalk, eyes peeled for any sign of your parents. The sky turned golden as the sun began to disappear under the horizon. You glanced out to the sea and looked as if the ocean was swallowing the day. Lights began to click on, and the already shiny buildings of the boardwalk were set aglow. Damn, we've been walking for that fucking long. You took a moment to absorb the sunset. It was nice to take a breath and ignore the noisy backdrop. It was then that you finally got an answer to your mystery. No wonder you hadn't noticed before. Derek, look! You pointed your finger straight at the realization. Derek jumped at your outburst and followed your command. He squinted into the distance before he dropped his jaw. As soon as he understood, he blurted out his shock. They rented bikes? Across the way, pedaling along, 2 pairs of parents were having a lovely double date. They were far enough away that you couldn't see much more than their helmets, but you could tell that Mom was laughing about something with her head thrown back. That explains that. He muttered under his breath in frustration. He gritted his teeth as the annoyance drained. The cold truth hit him and he whispered, defeated. They can't take Nicholas on a bike. Derek shrunk in on himself. Aw, oh no. So they can stop riding. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I could. Hey, if they're a kid, they have to take them. What are we gonna do? What should we do, Derek? Derek's eyes flicked over to yours, wide in distress. He turned back to the bikes. The parents were blissfully unaware that you were even there. Finally, he held a tired breath that was dangerously close to his sigh. His shoulders drooped enough to visibly lower Nicholas. I can't do it. I can't give him to them. Derek, are you sure? Derek flinched and worried his lips. But not one to keep the mood down, Derek tried to shake it off. A soft smile pulled at his face. He faced the sun and spoke into the slowly disappearing light. It's just one of those things. It happens. Nicholas twitched in his deep sleep and Derek pulled him closer. You remember Derek saying that before, when he was worried about not being able to attend the party, that it didn't happen last time, but he wasn't so lucky today.
I've got a plan.
Don't worry, I've got a plan. You waited for him to continue. With every word, more confidence filled his demeanor. We should go see Elizabeth and Jorge. They must be going crazy wondering where we are. You agree I'm still unhappy, you agree and want to move on. You agree trying to have the same outcome. I know I'm a little unhappy, but I'm gonna be concerned. Was it really okay? Sure, going back to the rest of the group made sense, but what else could you do if Derek refused to approach his parents? You still hadn't solved the Nicholas problem. You worried that this wasn't going to turn out the best for your friend. Alright. You backtracked to the roller coaster. Derek was shuffling behind you. He slowed down from his bustling pace earlier. He had to be tired. Beside the sign that let you measure if you were tall enough to ride the roller coaster, Elizabeth stood with folded arms and Jorge waved. We're here, all three of us. Elizabeth and Jorge walked over and met you halfway. Hey. He scuffed one of his shoes on the ground. He felt the weight of Elizabeth's gaze and let out a nervous chuckle. He shrugged as if to say, yeah, the parents' plan didn't work out. Sorry for taking so long. There was sort of a problem? Duh. Nicholas snuffled into Derek's shirt as he snored. Before she or Jorge could ask for more details, Derek jumped in on the other idea he had hinted at. I'm gonna hold Nicholas until it's time to go home. The rest of you can keep having fun. Go wherever you want. Jorge uncomfortably pulled at his shirt, stretching the fabric at its seams. I don't want to go. I want to help. He visibly felt bad about all of this being put on Derek. He got the impression that if Jorge was a little bigger, that he'd offer to take a turn holding his baby brother instead. No, it's okay. I'll be fine. You really shouldn't waste all your time standing around with me. Plus, then who would help Elizabeth and Kingsley around the boardwalk, first of all? They haven't been here before. You know this place. And can make sure they don't get lost, or don't miss the good parts. Jorge turned to you and Elizabeth, but hesitated with his answer. It'd help me to know we didn't send them off alone. They're our guests, right? Okay. Thanks, Jorge. Derek leaned closer to Elizabeth and whispered, I don't want Jorge to miss out on the boardwalk because of Nicholas, or because of me. Please go take him and have some fun. Elizabeth and Derek made eye contact, and for all you could figure, they had some sort of eldest sibling telepathy going on. That was the only way you could explain it, because rather than arguing, she agreed to work with Derek. I'll do it. Elizabeth, then, the same thing that happened earlier? I just scratched the back of my other leg, and the little sensation happened again. But for, the other foot. I don't think I like that. I think I have bad nerves. Elizabeth then pressed her lips together and considered you. She started and lightly flicked your nose. But I don't need Kingsley with me. Jorge isn't a pain. Derek's brows creased, not expecting that. Yeah, I'll stay with Derek. I can stay with Derek. Right, I'll handle taking Derek out for some fun. I agree with Elizabeth nudging. You were frustrated with Derek, but still didn't want to abandon him. Yeah, I'll stay with Derek. I thought so. Kingsley. Derek's voice was strangled and hushed. You don't have to do that. What about you? Why does it have to be just you? You can suggest if we take turns watching Nicholas. Derek shook his head and you felt your stubbornness spark. It's fine. Someone's gotta be here for Nicholas and it's easy as if I do it. That's all. Well, that's too bad because I won't go. Jorge, show me something interesting. No, I love them together. They're a dynamic duo, the two of them. I know it. Jorge gulped but nodded. His gaze would bounce between Elizabeth and your standoff with Derek, and he wisely decided to take his leave. He led Elizabeth away, passing by assorted stalls. He seemed to have an idea of where he was going, so he figured he and your sister would probably have a good time. Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot, bouncing around like the floor was on fire. It got more panicked the further away your sister and his brother got without you. Kingsley, you have to go. I'm the one who decided not to give him to our parents. It's not your fault. It's mine. You need to go have fun. You need help more than I need fun. You're not getting rid of me. When the other two were completely out of sight, Derek stopped his frantic movement, having spent all his excess nervous energy. You met his gaze head-on, staring at the friend who simply couldn't help himself from being helpful. His face changed to something tense and small. You wondered how many times he did this, took on all the responsibility so that others didn't have to be bothered. It didn't seem like he was called out on it much. Slowly, he smiled. His grin was tender enough to be genuine. Well then, if you're gonna be here anyways, we don't have to make ourselves miserable. It's you and me, and well, Nicholas time. Now you're talking.
Alright.
Alrighty. He lifted Nicholas higher and stood tall, ready to take on the world. And his knees buckled and he blushed. Can you sit down somewhere? Yeah, that's probably a good idea. After spending all this time searching high and low, both of you needed a break. You both dragged yourselves over to a nearby bench. It was thankfully empty and away from the crowd. I'm surprised he is sleeping through all of this. Derek took a heavy seat and exhaled deeply. Can we get a snack at least? Oh, do we still have our snack bags? Maybe we left those in the car. He kept Nicholas clutched close to his chest. It was a familiar notion, one that Derek must have done several hundreds of times before. I get why Nicholas is so attached to you. Maybe you shouldn't take on everything yourself. You don't like getting help, do you? I admire how responsible you are. Your parents would like to have you stay quiet. Maybe you shouldn't take on everything yourself. Or that, I mean, you can ask for help with Nicholas.
Maybe?
Oh, maybe. He appeared surprised at your observation and unsure how to respond. Girl, you don't need to. He sank in on himself, curling around Nicholas as he stared at the boards in front of him. He mumbled, soft enough you had to hold your breath to hear. I don't think that's such a bad thing. You weren't sure what to make of that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, you're like, I get that you're an older brother, you're a big brother, but sometimes parents should be taking care of their children, not the children taking care of the children. That's the thing. Like, I get like having responsibilities, but like that's your whole child. You had a whole baby. You cooked that baby for a whole 9 months, maybe more, maybe less, but you have your eldest child doing all this shit. No, I'm really not okay with that. He wasn't lying, but looked too sad for it to be full of truth. He didn't say any more about it. After you both had settled, Derek carefully reached into his pocket. He struggled to dig around and find what he was searching for. His little snack. Aha! He pulled out his special snack bag in triumph. He was still completely full. It was still completely full and untouched from this morning. Derek tried to pick out some of the morsels from the bag, but it was even harder to keep Nicholas from flopping over. Need some help there? Derek flushed at your offer and became self-conscious over the fact that you noticed his difficulty. Thanks. Despite his embarrassment, he passed the snacks to you. You took the bag and he studied his hold on Nicholas. Oh, I just need the granola chunks. You can leave the other stuff in there. Is that your favorite? Yeah, but no. You squinted at him in confusion. He laughed cheekily, having expected your reaction. It's my favorite snack in the bag, but that's not the reason I want it. The other stuff isn't for me. There's a handful of cereal Nicholas secretly likes, the way he can have something that's just not candies and cookies. I brought the walnuts for Jorge in case we were out too long and he got hungry, and he dropped his gaze from you shyly.
Honestly.
The gummy candies are for you, you know? Because maybe you get hungry too. That's 4 handfuls. Oh, it's so precious. You always think ahead. That's so nice of you. You shouldn't use your snack back for other people. Stop doing everything for everyone else. And what if you need more for yourself? You beamed at his consideration. Stop doing everything for everyone else. You're running out of patience with how Derek neglected himself for the sake of other people. You hadn't asked him to bring more snacks for you. I mean, I would have been thankful, but at the same time, you felt a weird sense of betrayal at the snack bag. It was supposed to have been a personal snack, but Derek had turned it into another way to sacrifice his own
No
needs.
worries.
It's nothing. He tried to reassure you and brush off your concern. To him, it wasn't a big deal. Do you want any gummy candies? You can take it. Sure, thank you. I don't want it. You should eat it. It's your special snack bag. You're not an accept it. You shook your head. You should eat it.
Okay.
Alright, you can hand it over. You chuckled and you fished out some granola and gummy candies. Derek held out his hand and you carefully dropped the snacks in his palm. Thanks. He popped one of the tiny oat clusters into his mouth and started chewing. You decided to pull out your own snacks. You wanted to eat and share your own snacks with Derek. You offered Derek some of your own snacks. Let's offer Derek some of my snacks. Want some? You held your bag in place where you could just pour it out for Derek if he said yes. His eyes lit up in amusement as he considered your snacks, but he winked at you, a clear sign of a clownery to come. No, those are your snacks. You gotta eat them. You laughed. Turnabout was fair play. You refused him, so he refused you. Both of you leisurely enjoyed the time. Derek ate away at the granola, peppering the air with soft crunching noises. You kindly let him savor his food. The munching and high-pitched snoring served as the only sound between you for a while. You passed Derek the last cluster of granola. You'd had to really try to get it out of the bag because of all the cereal and walnut chunks. Yuck. He accepted it with great enthusiasm and then took his final bites. He swallowed satisfied. Just imagining those flavors being with my other flavored things, like I would hate that. I would hate to have walnut cereal on my gummy candy. No thank you. Keep those. He absentmindedly patted Nicholas's head as he peered up and down the street. Something caught his eye and lit up. You know, I was so focused before. I kind of forgot where we were. This is still the boardwalk. He was excited as he had been towards the beginning of the day. Want to walk around? There's a lot of interesting stuff there, even if we're only looking. Sure, I feel like strolling. Maybe I'd even get a good saunter on. Derek gave you a thumbs up and then at Nicholas. Can you help me move him to my back? That'd be easier for a long haul. You stood up to help. It took both of you fumbling around, but with effort, you were able to get the little boy comfortably on Derek's back. Then you left the bench behind to explore the bustling waterfront park. Without consciously deciding to, you gravitated to the edge of the path closest to the sea. You studied the beautiful ocean, your breath almost taken away by how the water sparkled under the last flickers of the sunlight. The evening remained pleasantly warm despite the encroaching darkness. Your skin felt taut under your face paint. The paint had started to crack after its long exposure to the elements. Is it normal for Nicholas to fall asleep like this? Kind of. Sometimes something is so exciting that Nicholas bounces off the walls just imagining it. By the time he actually gets there, he's already burned himself out. That's just children. I'm pretty sure Nico didn't sleep at all last night because he knew today was going to be boardwalk day. Aw, it's cute. Aw, that sucks he's missing out. We'd be upset he slept through the day. I used to do that when I was little. That sucks he's missing out. I promise he'll be alright. Nico isn't great at imagining what he might have done if things went different. He lives in the moment, as everyone probably should. Nico's living his best life. So as long as he wakes up on his own, he won't be a grouchy monster. Your parents should give you a raise. I hope Jorge and Elizabeth are having a good time. I hope Nicholas is at least having good dreams. Your parents should give you a raise. I don't think it works like that, but it'd be cool if they did. Walking down the boardwalk was peaceful. The conversation was easy, with the occasional giggle. Other groups of people passed by, couples, young friend groups, and families with children all bustled about. You caught slivers of conversations ranging from mundane to philosophical. Derek glanced at the faces around him and grinned to himself. It kind of feels like we're parents since he's our kid. Oh? He twisted around to show you Nicholas with amusement. You're right. Oh yeah, our next trip should be the wedding chapel. I'm not saying that. yeah, haha. I'm glad he's not my actual kid. Yeah. He blushed. Not sure how to respond. It'd be nice if that was true. Oh really? You say that now, but you haven't seen Nicholas grumpy yet. He turned back, not shying away from your face after your admission. As he lay you down the boardwalk, you noticed a new skip in his step. Hey, I have an idea. Let's ride the Ferris wheel. We're officially giving up on getting our parents, and even Nico can do that. How high is it? I promise it'll be okay. I don't trust you. I know earlier in the stream I said I would trust Derek with my life, but I don't trust you. I'm sorry. I don't. The Ferris wheel isn't anything massive, and it's been running for a long time. Nothing bad ever happened. He pointed off in the distance with the aforementioned wheel, and it admittedly didn't seem the largest one out there. That does not matter to me. Alright, I'll give it a try, but only if you're with me. I will be. You nodded with determination, ready to ride now. Derek let out a whoop and turned around like it was a little happy dance. He laughed, charmed by his enthusiasm. If you keep that up, you're gonna wake the sleeping dragon there. Even if I did, we'd drag him to the wheel anyways. That'd rock him back to sleep. He smirked. Derek had an answer for everything. You both eagerly made your way through the crowd to get a line in for the one ride that was an option for you. Derek cautiously weaved past people, making sure no one accidentally bumped into Nicholas on the way. I keep wanting to shorten his name to Nico, but it says Nicholas, so I'm gonna read Nicholas. The line was short, and it didn't take long for you to start boarding the ride. We piled into the cabin, and Derek placed Nicholas in the corner of the middle bench. He sat next to him. I bet if we had given Nicholas to his parents, we would have gotten a CGI here. But knowing me, I'm bad at getting CGI, so... Nicholas snuffled when he was jostled, but didn't wake. Derek wrapped his arm around him to secure him from falling forward. Nicholas unconsciously leaned his head over to rest on him. You rested on the bench across from them, eye to eye with Derek. It felt sturdy under you. Derek's grin widened, and he tapped his toes together as he waited for the ride to start. And it did. The carriage car rocked forward slowly. You ascended into the sky. You kept your gaze locked squarely on your friend in front of you, willing yourself not to give in to the treacherous urge to look down. The gentle rocking of the cabin refused to let you forget the precarious position you were in, but Derek's stare was unwavering as yours. It was reassuring. The sun had continued to sink as the Ferris wheel rose, and the light that reached inside the cabin through the little window was low. Sharp-edged shadows cut across Derek's body. He stopped, shuffling his feet, and swished a tapping finger against the top of his knee in a jittery, uneven beat. With Nicholas still sound asleep, it felt like you were alone with Derek. In the small space, high in the air, with no one else anywhere around, you made one more attempt to get Derek to be open with you. If he wouldn't do it now, then when would he? I guess we're gonna try to finish this. I'm sorry to Gil. He's gonna be here for this. Alright, Derek. There's no escape now. You're gonna have to tell me what's up. You began to list your points of concern, and the whole thing sounded even more unreasonable when said in a single sentence. You got face paint Nicholas wanted, you picked out snacks for other people, you gave your own chance to have fun today as so your parents could go ride on a bike. Why don't you do things for yourself? He shrunk under the accusation like the walls were bending in on him. It's not like I can't ever do things for me. I do sometimes. I went to the summer soiree instead of hanging out with my family. You weren't convinced, and spelled that out with the furrow of your brow and the tightest line of your mouth. Derek acted the scolded child and hung his head in shame, but he felt compelled to fill the uncomfortable silence your reaction had left. It's easier to do things for other people than to try to fight for something just for me, and that makes everything easier for other people too. No! Respect yourself. You almost spoke out in his defense to declare that he should stand up for what he needed, but you held it back. Derek was finally expressing himself and you didn't want to interrupt. He rambled on, trying to sort out his thoughts and arrange the words in a way that made sense to both you and him. I like thinking about the people I love. I really seriously do like doing stuff that makes them happy. I don't want to have to stop doing any of that. No one's asking you to stop doing that. It's saying like, but think about yourself. Derek tightened his hands to his fist. His words were earnest, and he directed them straight towards you with unwavering eye contact. I mean it, even though it's annoying sometimes. Annoying for me and whoever tries to stick with me. However, as true as it was, his resoluteness fizzled out almost immediately. Derek timidly sunk down in his seat. He brushed his little brother's bangs away from his closed eyes. It was a nervous, momentary distraction. Nicholas offered him some emotional support just by being there. Not the emotional support brother. When Derek spoke up again, it was in a tiny voice. But maybe part of me is just sort of hoping that instead of having to do more for myself and less for others, somebody would try to do things for me too. Then it'd be even. Derek shifted shyly. So this is your master plan all along. Interesting. His head was still low, but his gaze shifted up to you. It's kind of like a dream or something that I've got. And if I'm not doing that for anyone else, how am I gonna find someone who'll do it for me? I can't ask for stuff that not even I'd want to give. Your eyebrows shot up, but the rest of your body froze in place. Derek turned his face towards the window. It wasn't enough to cover the way his cheeks had reddened. They're not red to me. My family cares about me, obviously, but a lot of the time that's the thing I need help with. With a laugh, Derek liberally tousled the hair of the beloved pain in his side and laid there, the youngest brother remaining blissfully unaware of the trouble he caused. The humor in his tone left Derek as quickly as it had appeared. He couldn't get away from how serious the topic was, or how much it truly meant to him. It'd be cool to have somebody who was on my side and who liked me because of me, not because they're family and are supposed to love me. Okay, there you go. There's the reddening of the cheeks. For a single instant, his eyes met yours, but then he instantly focused on the world outside the scuffed, clouded window of the old Ferris wheel. You could see a lopsided grin reflected in the glass. Don't tell my bros I imagine some pretty dumb things. Like what? What do you imagine that's dumb? It's not dumb. Oh, was it that? I was so like, that's not dumb. It's not dumb, that's normal, nice. I promise this will stay just between us. You do have that. I'm here for whatever you need. I'm sure the dream will come true for you. You smell reassuring. You do have that, dummy. Ah, thanks. The foggy face you could make out, and the window pane trembled. He wasn't ready to show it directly, but you were glad he still got a glimpse of it. He grasped the top of one knee and took in a deep breath through his nose. When he exhaled, he carefully laid out a few more words for consideration. Hey, Kingsley, is there somebody that you think? Without thinking, you leaned forward towards him. You were hanging on his words like the cabin you were seated in was suspended from the wheel. He never placed the last part. Never mind. Forget it. You can ask me anything if you want. No, you can't leave me there. You're killing me. Wait, I want to know what you're going to say. It's alright. You can tell me later. You started him in confusion. No, you can't leave me there. Sorry, but don't worry about that. It was just this idea I've been kicking around, but I should probably think about it a little more. A lot more. Besides, Derek shrugged an arm and cocked his head down to the extra bit of company who was still gently snoring. It's kind of awkward to talk about all this personal stuff with my baby brother right here, even if he is asleep. He chuckled good-naturedly, moving his hand scratched behind his ear. Maybe I can try again later. The back of his foot knocked against the lower wall of the outcropping metal seat on repeat. It sounded the end of the conversation, but that didn't mean nothing else. That didn't mean nothing else was on his mind. Derek was always considering something, and most of the time, it was other people. Things someone else might have missed or forgotten weren't taken for granted by him. Thanks for helping me with the snacks before. That piece of appreciation was given easily. The next, though, was far meeker. And thanks for coming with me. You're welcome, it was nothing. Thanks for letting me come with you. Anytime, Derek. This time, Derek shared his bright and bashful face directly with you. You could always count on him, that was a certainty, and Derek knew that the sentiment was mutual. You would look out for him whether he did it for himself or not, whether he asked you to or not, and whether he wanted you to or not. That was just as sure. Not much more was said before the ride came to its steady, inevitable end. You disembarked from the cabin with Nicholas securely in Derek's arms. He strolled from the exit to the nearest stall to ask the employee what time it was. 8 p.m. was quickly approaching. We better go to the meetup place. Can you help me with Nico? Can you help me get Nico on my back again? How about I carry him out? No, let me take a turn with the kid. Yeah, I can do that. No. How about I carry him? Oh? Instinctively, Derek pulled back. Aw, okay. He clung tighter to his younger brother, keeping the weight of the burden securely on himself. You waited, calm and stable. Ultimately, the tension in his face and the hesitancy in his heart faded, and he accepted your offer graciously. That'd actually be great. Thanks, Kingsley. Derek shifted his grip on Nicholas before he propelled the small boy over your shoulders. You tucked your elbows around Nico's knees and hunched over so he wouldn't slip off. Nico draped heavily on your back, like a fluffy, car-patterned cape. He really wasn't that heavy, but you could easily imagine how carrying an extra load could get tiresome after a while. Derek definitely needed a break. Perfect. Together you wandered across the path. The people surrounding you were full of enthusiasm, bustling from ride to ride and store to store, but a quiet peace had settled between you and Derek. Your day at the boardwalk was already coming to an end. The sky had gone completely dark by the time you reached the meeting spot, but the world around you was still awash with color. With light, sorry. Street lamps poured down on you while spotlights shot upwards to illuminate the biggest rides. You and Derek huddled at the side of the path. What time do you think the boardwalk closes? 11? You wanted to stay out of the way of the other visitors who were trickling off the parking lot and the ones who were rushing the opposite way for a last-minute excursion on the boardwalk. You helped the strangers and enjoyed themselves, but for you and Derek, plus the sleeping Nicholas, there was nowhere to go, at least not until you caught sight of your currently missing family members. You know what's so terrible about this? That kid's gonna be up all fucking night now. Unless they give him some melatonin or something. You beat them. Good for us, we win. You used the break as an opportunity to readjust Nicholas. He started to slide a bit during the trip over. Since there were only 2 awake members of your group, you both wordlessly kept your eyes peeled. Every figure approaching in the distance was scrutinized and then disregarded as just another stranger. The process repeated for a few minutes, but eventually 2 shadowed forms coming down the path stepped under a light, and you immediately recognized them. Jorge, Elizabeth! Derek jumped and waved his hands over his head. He was entirely free to draw attention to himself That way, thanks to you taking over piggybacking Nicholas. Even on the other side of the end of the boardwalk, you could tell Elizabeth was smirking. What the fuck is on your forehead? I hate it. I hate whatever is on her forehead. Derek's brother and your sister rejoined you in the front of the first stall. You were proven right, she definitely had a leering smirk. It's very cute that you're taking a turn with a precious baby. Ha! Derek barked out a laugh. Elizabeth's smile was the only notable thing on her face. And even Derek wasn't polite enough to let her get away with it. Maybe, but what's on your forehead? The oldest kid hadn't returned exactly the same way you'd left her. She had a bright white golf— that's what that is? A golf ball? That I would have never guessed. White golf ball emblazoned her skin with non-toxic water-soluble paint. So much for not needing something like that. After just a small huff, Elizabeth plainly laid out her case. Jorge and I talked a little about sports we liked. When I told him I did golf, he suggested I get a face paint of that. I did, and it was fun. Okay, but why dab in the fucking middle of your forehead? I hate the holes on it. Her chin was high and she spoke with defiance. Elizabeth absolutely refused to be embarrassed by her change of mind. Jorge stood at your sister's side and proudly took credit for the accomplishment. They're so cute together. I love Jorge. We all know Jorge's my favorite sibling. She didn't want to do it before because she was just being an Elizabeth. Oh? I got nicknames for each other now? Huh? Better than being a Borge? I guess. It wouldn't be gay. Better than being a Borge. Jorge and Elizabeth chuckled at their quips. Apparently they had unique nicknames for one another now. It left Derek nearly speechless. Honestly, same. Wow. Clearly you and Derek weren't the only ones who went through a bonding experience this evening. I'm glad you had fun. I feel like I'm being replaced, you joked. That's so cute, Elizabeth. That's sweet you're getting along. You sound relieved that everything went well. I'm glad you had fun. What else did you think would happen? You had a lot of unfortunate scenarios you could have imagined, but someone beat you to the punch when it came to saying it out loud. That you'd act too cool for everything and Jorge would sit around sad all day. Well, that's rude and it didn't happen. And that's why we're glad. Lighthearted laughter drifted around the group. Whether you were divided up altogether, the Suarez and the Rajal kids enjoyed each other's company. Your sister even exhaled calmly, and followed it with a sage nod. I'll take Nicholas now. Oh? Whether Derek was going to agree or disagree with the offer, you didn't know, but Elizabeth didn't give him the chance. She wasn't suggesting what he thought she was. You got like 10 or 15 minutes left. The two of you should use it. What? You want us to leave you with him? Uh-huh. Derek took a hesitant step back and turned his face away. His expression tensed the same way it had when he first realized Nico was going to be asleep for the rest of the trip. Nicholas is going to be mad if I'm not there. The resistance was a weak mumble, and his middle brother spoke with much more boldness. Nicholas isn't gonna know, and what he doesn't know won't kill him. Jorge! Jerry was lost at where that had come from. You hadn't expected it. Jorge was never the rule bender. You must have missed even more than you thought during this time with Elizabeth. I'm gonna be right back real quick. I'm past the time that I need to be getting off, but it's Friday, right? I'll be back. I'm just gonna set the up. Jax got up too. He was like, oh, we're moving? What are we doing? What's the plan? Derek, let's go for it. Come on. Boric, live a little. Boric? Oh, Derek. I was confused. I don't know. You two are my heroes. We gotta go, Derek. Will there really be time for that before our parents get here? You worried silently. Come on, Boric, live a little. I don't think that nickname works as well for me as it does for Jorge. Well, that's beside the point. See? Even your darling Kingsley wants you to stop being such a goody two-shoes for a single second. Go and have fun for Pete's sake. Yeah, hurry, you have to do stuff at the boardwalk while we're at the boardwalk. He shyly scuffed his sneaker on the ground with a doe-eyed expression that was more expected from Nicholas. It was exceedingly rare for anyone to tell Derek what the plan was. He was used to coming up with all the ideas and taking charge. Derek glanced at you. It was impossible not to smile at him. Alright, I'll do it. Then, we're doing it. Finally. There was a quick passing of the buck as Elizabeth took Nicholas into her hands. She carefully positioned his head against her shoulder and cradled his legs under her forearms. Derek found, how small is Nicholas? The way I'm imagining this does not seem right. Derek found the hold satisfactory and trusted his youngest brother to her the same way he'd let her borrow the responsibility of watching out for Jorge. No more time was wasted. You shot off down the boardwalk one more time. The flow of traffic had shifted even more from when you'd started waiting, with everyone except for you moving towards the exit. You pushed against the tide into the heart of the park. You were sprinting hand in hand. You were sitting hand in hand. How cute. The two of you had to reach for the other on instinct in the heat of the chase, neither wanting to be separated in the crowd and both yearning to be as close as possible. Oh my god, this is so cute. Your feet and heart were beating hard. Derek shouted over the sound in a breathless, thrilled voice. The lines are all going to be short this late, but I don't think we can do two. Which one do you want to do? Or we don't have to go on a ride at all. Let's hit the roller coaster. How about we get a treat? Nicholas isn't here, and your moms didn't say we weren't allowed any more snacks. Oh yeah, Kingsley? His grin curved mischievously. Well, if we're being less responsible and doing stuff just for us, that does sound like the way to do it. Super treat it is. You rushed up to the ordering window of a nearby stall, having to catch yourself on the edge of the void completely crashing into it, or into Derek. He had his own near disaster stop right next to you. The poor employee had to wait for you to finish laughing before they were able to get an order out of you. Finally, you calmed your giggles and got... Ooh, you get churros. Got popcorn, cotton candy, hot chocolate, funnel cake. Funnel cake! Derek ordered ice cream for himself. He gave you a thumbs up with one hand as he passed a $5 bill over to the cashier with the other. I'll let you try mine if I can have some of yours. You laughed just a little more as you paid for yourself. And just like that, your mom's money was gone, but in exchange you held a delicious funnel cake. Derek stared down at the creamy confection he'd selected. What flavor did you get? Because I don't want it if you got a gross flavor. Honestly, I do kind of feel a little bad about this. I know my bros would want to be able to do this too, if they could. Tough luck, Derek. But I do have some delicious ice cream to make myself feel better. Exactly. The two of you took a seat on a nearby bench and enjoyed your own illicit treats. You each took samples of the other. When you were finished, you dumped all the evidence in the trash can. Nicholas would never know. I feel like if we went on the Ferris wheel, we could have gotten a CGI. But that's okay. Derek stared at the sparkling stars beyond the glitz and glamour of the boardwalk. There was a peace between you that hadn't been there at any other moment during your trip. Hey. His eyes had stolen the shine from the cosmos when he placed his gaze back on you. Oh, that's such a line. I love that. It was way too awkward to talk about this before with my little brother right there. But I just want to say I really like hanging out with you, Kingsley. I love my brothers and parents a ton, and my other friends are great too, but when I have to pick someone to team up with, I think about you. He shrugged his shoulders with a shy grin. Derek was someone you could count on for honesty, but sometimes it still surprised you that what he was capable of. I think of you too. I'd partner with you anytime. You smiled back at him. You flushed off the way. Thank you. I can get why you didn't admit that earlier, you joked. I think of you too. Oh, cool. There was no haste or worry of separation, but Derek's hand still found its way around yours. That's so cute. You threaded your fingers together with his. The soft touch squeezed at your heart even more than your hand. Getting the chance to spend time with truly just the two of you was more than you could have hoped for. You owed Elizabeth one. Despite taking an entire extra jaunt around the boardwalk, you still arrived at the entrance before your parents. However, there had been a shift in the group. Nicholas was awake. As soon as Derek noticed the small third figure standing by Elizabeth and Jorge, he started like he was hit by a bull. You felt him squeeze his fingers around your hand in a stunned state. He made a break for his sibling, bringing you along with him. The motion was not exactly subtle, and it caught the attention of the boy in question. He let out a shout when he saw saw your rapid approach. Well, technically it wasn't your arrival that had an impact. Derek sure is back, isn't he? Nicholas sprinted away from the meeting spot, not willing to wait a single second for the reunion. He crashed into Derek, wrapping his arms around his brother's thighs and sticking his head into the space between Derek's legs. Oof! It was powerful enough to knock Derek off balance. You had to release your hands so he could swing his arms to the side and to stop his wobbling. Once he was sure he wasn't going to topple over, Derek bent down and scooped up his hanger-on. Seeing Derek carrying Nicholas felt extremely familiar by this point, considering that he'd been the case the entire afternoon. But Derek wasn't sick of it yet. He could handle it for a little longer. Derek nudged his head towards the other two members of your party, encouraging you to come. Together, you and Derek walked the rest of the way to the boardwalk entrance, while Nicholas clung to Derek the whole way. Jorge waved you over.
Welcome back.
Hey! In the moment you were in whispering distance, you greeted by a hushed message from your own big sibling. Good work. She put a finger on her cheek and smirked suggestively. It confused you for a second. I don't know where I got focus from. Before you realized she had seen you holding hands even from a distance. We do this all the time. This is nothing new. Derek slowly kneeled to let Nicholas get down. The little boy stood on his own 2 feet. His 2 hands didn't detach. They only grasped the hem of Derek's jersey instead. While brushing his brother's messy hair, Derek glanced up at Nico's temporary babysitters. He stared at them questioningly. What happened was the obvious unspoken question. He's only been up for a few minutes. And he was really grumpy at first because you weren't there, but we got him talking about the dream adventure he had when he was sleeping to keep him busy, and that worked. It was really funny. Nico had a good time too. Jorge beamed with pride at the success, and you noticed how much closer he stood to Elizabeth. Your sister accepted his company just as welcomingly. They were their own partners in crime for the day. I'm basically positive that about after 5 seconds he stopped telling us his actual dreams and was just making it all up, but it was cute. Derek blinked at the two of you he had just witnessed as if he just witnessed a miracle. It kind of was in a small way. He was able to pass the mantle of responsibility and everything turned out fine. However, Elizabeth and Jorge wouldn't be replacing Derek anytime soon, or likely ever. Nicholas may have behaved for a bit, but now that his biggest brother was here, the young lad wanted to be taken care of. His gaze dropped to the ground and he pulled at the end of Derek's shirt. Derek, my tummy hurts. I want ice cream. No ice cream, Nico. That's not gonna help your stomach. But you can have some of my snacks. I saved you part of it. Derek's tone really sold the idea. It was full of appeal from the fact it was his snacks. He could hype up a product better than any of the employees running games on the boardwalk. Nicholas brightened immediately. He clasped his own collar and leaned his head all the way back to look up at his brother's face from where he stood against Derek's legs. He wasn't kept waiting long. Derek pulled the bag out of his pocket and shoved it through the mix of walnuts and cereal to pick out the treat specially chosen for Nico. Once he collected a small handful, he passed it over to Nicholas, carefully dropping the round cereal puffs one by one. Nicholas's tiny palm, the amount was almost overflowing. Nicholas gratefully received the offering. He shoved the whole thing into his mouth and ate directly out of his hand. It reminded you of feeding oats to a pony, except in this case Nicholas was both the feeder and the fed. Derek nodded in satisfaction and rolled the bag over in his palm. Jorge, these are for you. He gathered the last wayward pieces of cereal and then offered the well-worn bag of nothing but walnuts to the middle child. It's been a really long day and there's still a ride back. You should eat something. Jorge didn't argue with that. He gladly accepted his brother's thoughtful gesture. Thanks! Jorge plucked out just one from the pack, the heartiest looking nut in the bunch, and took a bite out of it. His gaze shifted towards Elizabeth, or Elizabeth as Jorge knew her, as he swallowed his snack. Then he asked a question. Do you want any? You know what? I would. Thanks. Elizabeth was the third person who took a turn of opening a hand to receive the snack. Jorge shook a few of the nuts into her waiting palm. Dear, you and Kingsley can have some too. Thanks, I don't eat nuts. I don't, though, sorry. Nicholas's fingers remained pushed against his mouth, but his distinct chomping stopped. He spoke muffled words filtered through a handful of half-crushed cereal. I can share too! He stuck his sticky palm up towards Derek's face instead of his own. No, ew. The gesture had crumbs cascading down his shirt. Nico couldn't reach high enough to get it all the way to his brother's mouth. Ugh, that makes me sick thinking about that. Derek shook his giggles and poked Nicholas's wrist to nudge the pile of soggy cereal away. He had to take a second to breathe before he could explain himself. I've got some of the cereal right here. That'll be from you. Thanks, Nicholas. I'm gonna eat it. That logic seemed sound to Nicholas, or maybe just seeing his brother smile made Nicholas smile too. Either way, he accepted that not taking more of the cereal counted as him sharing it. But he wasn't done. Nicholas turned around on a dime, arm outstretched, and positioned his hand towards you. Oh. Amazingly, he wanted to share some with someone other than Derek. You kiddos are all way too nice. You could at his sweetness, you smiled with a forced politeness. You had no idea how to react. You bashed Derek and laughed. You cringed at how gross the snack was. I'll just match a laugh. You knew he was trying to be nice, but it was just hilarious. Before Nicholas could start flinging bits of cereal at you in his eagerness to share, a warm voice boomed above the din of the busy boardwalk. Good evening, family and friends. It was Mr. Suarez, and not only him, he spotted all four of the parents weaving their way through the crowd. We're here. Inside of his mommy and daddy made Nicholas forget all about feeding his pre-chewed snack. He smashed the remaining cereal in his mouth so he could use both his hands to wave at his parents. Why are children so gross? I mean, I guess being not gross is a learned thing. Dad, Mom! Oh wait, sorry, that was Derek. Dad, Mom! Derek called back with equal excitement. The parents picked up the pace and came together around their children. Greetings were shared between the adults and kids. Immediately, Mom noted that the face paint that was now adorning your group.
Wonderful.
You all look wonderful, so creative. Nicholas forced himself to swallow a mouthful. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. He sucked in a huge breath, pointed to his cheeks, and cheered. Rainbow!
That's good.
Why, you're right, it is a rainbow. It's beautiful, Nico. Nicholas giggled gleefully at the praise from the grown-ups. Mr. Suarez then clasped her hands together and changed the topic. Well, everyone, I'm sorry you beat us here. Hopefully you weren't waiting too long. Nah, it was fine. I appreciate you waiting here for us. We went on a very lovely bike ride across the boardwalk. Really? You were out there pedaling around bikes? Mm-hmm. Elizabeth's and Jorge's faces of genuine surprise at the news helped to distract from the awkward knowing glances you shared with Derek. Returning them was a real hassle. That's why we got here late. Definitely worth it, though. It was. And did you children have a good day? Oh, I went back. Okay, hold on. Log. I clicked too fast. Nicholas threw his hands in the air to answer with full force. Yeah! Derek softly patted his little brother's head. His voice was much quieter and distinctively relieved. Yeah. You, Jorge, and Elizabeth nodded and offered your own points of agreement. It might not have gone as you had imagined, but none of you would consider it a waste of time. It was an experience worth having. That's great. I'm sure you made the most of what you had. But we better get going. It is very late. Perhaps we should pick dinner up on the way home. Absolutely. It's been hours since we left, and Nicholas can always sleep in the car since we won't be home before bedtime either way. All the kids except for Nicholas had their face go completely flat, and Elizabeth snorted. Mrs. Suarez didn't miss that instant reaction. She raised a brow. Derek straightened the bands on his wrists and broke the news to his mom. There was a glint of amusement in his eyes. Sorry, Mom. I don't think that's gonna happen. Nicholas remained oblivious to the discussion going on about him. He was leaping and bounding from board to board, completely refreshed. His mother frowned. It was obvious to her what had occurred. Mr. Suarez was unflustered. He shared some dignified optimism. He'll be up to keep us company. We'll all be together. Those words reached the small ears of the youngest person there. Nicholas held onto Derek's abdomen. Liking the sound of that promise, his older brother looked down at him warmly. Glad to have you back, Nico. And Jorge, you're such a reliable bro. He wrapped one arm around Nicholas and reached over to pull his other brother into a hug. Jorge welcomed and reciprocated their embrace. The Suarez trio snuggled together in a tight squeeze, and their flaking face paint rubbed off on each other. Your gaze wandered from the public display of affection, and you went to your older sister. Elizabeth was definitely not a hugger, but you whispered your only siblingly appreciation for her. Thank you for being such a reliable sis. She gave a smug flip of her hair. Forget it. I owed you one after your grand stunt for me on Daddy Day. Girl, why are you calling it Daddy Day? Out of everything you could call it, why Daddy Day? Oh, Elizabeth. Let's go! That was all that needed to be said. Your completed party took their final steps on the boardwalk, heading straight towards the parking lot. Mrs. Suarez was leading the pack. Mom! Hey, Mom! Nicholas shouted and waved to the other mothers to get his mother's attention from behind. while still using one hand to grip Derek. Guess what? Elizabeth carried me. She did. That's so considerate. Elizabeth? Elizabeth? Your moms were walking arm in arm, sharing a hushed commentary with each other, a distance from the group, and tittering over what they had heard. I carried you too while you were sleeping. She only did it for a few minutes. It was nice of her to do that. You're so sweet, Elizabeth. You snickered along with your moms. You're so sweet, Elizabeth. I am. I feel that who carried Nicholas the most today should get the biggest say in what we have for dinner.
My thoughts exactly.
I'd second that. Sounds fair to me. And then we all agree. I guess this means Derek will be our dinner decider for the night.
Maybe.
Probably. Derek scratched at the rainbow on his cheek and chuckled airily. He shrugged without comment and simply continued to walk. His little brother stayed at Derek's side and they bumped along together. To show with Elizabeth while the parents surrounded the set of siblings at the front and from behind. Derek's hands were full with Nicholas and Jorge, but he snuck a fond glance over at you. None of his excitement had faded. The night was still young and bright, and you knew you could count on every person there. Despite being miles from Sunset Bird, you felt right at home. Wow, what a lovely, lovely DLC that was. Okay, I'm gonna save it. Next time we play this, we will continue on to step 3. I am, let me see, ending it. There we go, that's what I'm doing, I'm ending it. Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. Do I feel like existing? Do I feel like existing to people? No, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, I don't feel like existing. It was nice having you here though. I appreciate it. Tomorrow, I will be streaming Death Bulge at 8 p.m. EST. But a little bit before that, we're gonna play Animal Crossing because something happened. It happened earlier in Animal Crossing, and I'm so sad about it. And we will see that tomorrow. Other than that, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. And I really do hope to see you in the next stream. Bye!